assumed when you sent me that text that was your way of saying I'm going to bed.
No, I was watching the game. I just wanted you to have the phone number for the thing this morning.
So that's why I didn't text you when Otani was coming in the ninth, because I figured that either A, he probably went to bed because the game took 3:18, or B, well, if he stayed up, he knows.
No, I was up. We had a soccer scrimmage last night.
First one under the lights?
No, it was before the lights, 6 to 7.
Gotcha.
He went and found a travel team because I told you the kid, this is like a really good rec team. Did we get our ass kicked last night? My daughter took 2 balls to the gut, like hard kicks. And first one, she stayed in the game. Second one took her out of the game. That, like, she got drilled. I was like, everyone's like, you need to check on her? Because it was literally the opposite corner. I looked at every parent. They went, how is she? I'm like, how am I supposed to know? She's over there. You know as much as I do. She looks fine to me. I'm not going over there. I'm not walking all the way. I'm not doing that to her.
She'll get her win right.
She's going to make her cry more if I come over. Right here.
Daughter and I had a deal.
Okay. I will say we went to Larry's after, because I didn't even get home till
8:30,
9.
Okay.
But it was on every TV. The volume was on at the new Larry's over by, you don't even know that it's there, but at the end of Estero Boulevard, where that Tacos and Tequila and that little restaurant mall is.
Right.
Now Pelican Larry's in there.
Oh, okay.
Every TV was on the game. People were into the game.
Cool.
But it wasn't much of a game. It was a lot of solo home runs. I mean, it wasn't
4 of the 5 runs for solo homers. How old was the crowd watching?
College kids. The ones that were into it were college kids.
Morning, everybody.
I saw the first 5 innings at Potts by Hammond Stadium. And they were having some trivia night, so we were the only group of young people there.
So in a baseball bar, the baseball game wasn't the most important thing.
Well, there's a trivia night.
Oh.
I mean, it's trivia night, you know?
That's Trivia Tuesdays. Got it.
It happens more often than the World Baseball Classic. I don't know what to tell you.
Mark Paul wants to know, is Pelican Larry's good?
Yeah, I mean, it's clean. They do a decent job with service. It's fine. Bar food.
Every 3 years for the World Baseball Classic. Every 3. But the 2020 one got postponed because of COVID, and they didn't reschedule it. So that's why it had been 6 years.
Philly, what I'm saying is, if I were to ask everybody in Southwest Florida to name a baseball bar in Southwest Florida, they would name Potts. Known as the baseball bar, right?
Pretty much. That's where you go before Twins games.
And before every baseball tournament, you know, I mean, all the stuff, all the softball and everything else.
No. Yep. It benefits by Potts basically won by default. They're the only one around.
Ever.
And I am not a fan of that mellow mushroom pizza like across the street.
It's mid. Very mid.
I always thought it was very expensive and not that good.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. It is a hump day. How's your week going? Well, let's get over it together, shall we? How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Major League Baseball season gets underway a week from tomorrow. World Baseball Classic came to an end last night in dramatic fashion. Mark, drama. They had some drama. Right out of the movies. Draw it up. Drama. No?
It was a cool moment.
Yeah.
It was a cool moment.
It doesn't qualify as drama?
To all of you that it does, I'm not going to sit there and rain on your parade. We got what we wanted. It was really a cool moment. It was an
One-run game. Ninth inning. Ohtani against Trout.
It was really cool.
I mean, you had to wait
Wow.
3 hours and 15 minutes
Right.
for it, but, you know.
Women and children were long in bed by the time that came about.
I'll tell you, I laid down on my right side at the top of the eighth, and I thought, come on now, don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep here, Moulton. Suck it up. Come on. You can get through this. Whew. They were slow at times. You know what? It was drama, but it was also baseball before Manfred put in the new rules, too.
No doubt. Look, I love the movie Fletch. There's a scene in Fletch in which he's trying to be someone else's, nephew, and that one, oh, it's a shame he died. Yeah, it was really sudden. Oh, he'd had cancer for years. Well, I mean, the end was really sudden. Well, he was in intensive care for 3 days. No, I mean, when he died, that actual moment was sudden. That's what I thought about that game last night. That's what I thought about that game. The end was very sudden. It was very special. It was cool. I liked it. It was great. We got Ohtani against Trout. That's what everybody wanted. Fantastic. 4 solo home runs. The drama to me was in the 7th when U.S. had some base runners on and was threatening to have a rally. That was the drama.
Right. First and second, nobody out.
That was the drama.
Right. Had Trout at the plate, first and second, nobody out. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. Popped out the shallow right.
Kyle Schwarber hitting 5 consecutive foul balls before blasting one to deep right.
It was an epic at bat. It was in the 8th inning. It was very, very postseason baseball drama. It was good stuff. It was building. But ultimately, Japan wins it. And Ohtani, with some real emotion, gave the pregame speech and everything to the team. Was wearing out a path from the bullpen to the dugout. Kept warming up, coming back. Up, got a hit. I'm going to warm up again. Don't know when I'm needed. Up. It was like the Japanese manager was saying to the U.S., for as long as we have the lead, I'm going to keep shortening how long I use them. But you guys get within a run, that sucker's coming in the game, and I'm pitching him till his arm falls off.
Would have been nice if they wouldn't have hit into a double play that Trout would have had to run her on base to maybe drive in.
I know Mookie Betts, who had a great World Baseball Classic, but in the 9th, leadoff runner aboard. Sharp hit ground ball, 4-6-3, baby. Yep.
The fact that Ohtani threw it low and right down the middle to Mike Trout, I mean, the cojones that you have to be able to pull that off.
I loved Smoltz. Okay, he threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball past him for a swinging strike. Then he threw another 100-mile-an-hour fastball past him 2 pitches later for a swinging strike, and the count was 2-2. And Joe Davis says, "What do you throw here?" And Smoltz goes, "I know it's Mike Trout, but I'm throwing him a fastball." But he struck him out on a 3-2 slider that was just filthy,
Dirty.
ridiculous. Couldn't have hit that pitch if you knew it was coming. But all right. So I didn't text you because first off,
Yeah, I know. How about that?
I
You had
didn't
one
te-
job to do.
I didn't text you because A, they held Ohtani off until the 9th, and B, I thought you were already asleep. I did. I thought there's no way he's staying up for this. The game was slow. All right. It didn't start at 7:05. It started more like 7:20. And I'm like, we're past 10:30 here. I'm like, okay, he's asleep. No way. This game hasn't been riveting enough for him to stay awake through this.
I was out at the bar until after 9:00 last night.
I
It's
didn't know
spring
that.
break.
How did I know it was a Tuesday night out?
I didn't know it was a Tuesday now. The daughter had a soccer scrimmage, and all of a sudden my wife's talking to one of the other moms. Next thing I know, we're at a sports bar after the soccer scrimmage, and I'm watching the World Baseball Classic with a bunch of strangers doing R&D, for crying out loud.
By the way, let's do a tangent. How was the R&D? Were people into it? I mean, I had to guess it'd be on the TVs. I mean, what are they going to do? Put North Texas, Oklahoma State, NIT on the TV? A hockey game, maybe? I mean, Panthers and Lightning were playing. I mean, did the bar have the baseball game on?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It had it on. Every
Okay.
television. They were all in. I mean, I shouldn't say they were all in. There was a table of college kids when I walked in that were all in. Everybody else was just going about their business. We were watching. I mean, I watched.
Okay. All right. You said you were doing R&D. I just wanted to get the research. That's all. But I was thinking this. In the 7th inning, the U.S. lineup rolled over. 9th place hitter came up. They pinch hit. They put in the National League batting champion. He walked. Then Betts got a base hit. And now here comes Trout. And I'm thinking to myself, well, we've been talking about this. If you're Major League Baseball, is this how your games now should end? Because it was clear that Japan was saving their 3 best pitchers for the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Didn't know who the 7th inning guy was. Darvish for the 8th, Ohtani for the 9th. Okay, well, then in theory, what is it we've talked about? If you could then, as a manager, pick the spot in the lineup where you want to start, and you can do that in each of the last 3 innings. So in theory, we would have seen Betts and Trout in the 7th, in the 8th, and in the 9th, just like we do all our other major sports. The best players are on the court, on the field, on the ice. And sure enough, it happened in the 9th. It was 9-1-2 in the batting order. And I'm wondering, first off, did that strike you at all? And secondly, how great would baseball be if this is how games now ended?
All right. I knew this was coming. I was fully prepared for you this morning. And my question to you is this, because everybody universally loved Ohtani and Trout. We got the matchup that we wanted. Smolt started talking about the 8th, for crying out loud.
Hell, the 5th.
Because it lucked out where we did this, do you think baseball loses anything if you get it every inning when we had this dramatic type of finish that we had last night? Because last night was the dream scenario. You think having that 3 times, does that water down the sport? Does that water down the drama?
It might. It might. Although, do you feel that way in the NBA when in the final 2-3 minutes of every game, like if you're watching the Lakers, well, it's going through LeBron or Anthony Davis. I mean, every single time. I mean, every possession starts with the ball in LeBron's hand. Does that water down the final 2 minutes that LeBron's got the
because
ball?
every possession of the game starts in his hands. It doesn't change the way the game. But no, David, it doesn't change the way they play the game. That's the way they play the game. Every possession goes that way. That's how their offense runs. So I'm merely asking. I was thinking about it last night as everybody was going to be fired up this morning. And I didn't buy the World Baseball Classic the way everybody else did.
Right.
We had someone in the Twitch chat room. It's one of the greatest baseball moments of all time. Not to me. That happens in October, not in March.
Now, it happened to play out this way last night. How about if we just did it for the 9th? How about if you just did, like, I would want to do it for at least the 8th and the 9th. I'd be willing to go so far as the 7th, 8th, and 9th because I'm not kidding. When Ohtani's making $60 million a year, okay, if I'm the owner, I want him getting 5 or 6 at-bats a game. I'm paying him $60 million. I'm paying Trout 43. I want him to have 6 at-bats every game. I do. And quite frankly, you're paying to see who? Mike Trout. So you want him to have at least 5 at-bats too, if not 6. But how about if we just did the 9th?
No, hey, look, I'm not opposed to this rule. I literally was wondering as I was watching last night, I knew for a fact we were going to start the show out today, and by 6:30, you will have brought this up. I could have written it down last night because it played out. And I'm going, Moulton is in his element right now because we're coming on the show tomorrow, and after we talk about the game for a couple of minutes, David's going to say, what if we could have this every 7th, 8th, and 9th?
Yeah, I bet some Trout in the 7th and the 9th. I'm like, well, hell, might as well do it in the 8th too. Let's go.
I think this tournament would be a great place to try something like this out. I really do. They could put a quirky rule like that in the World Baseball Classic and not bother anybody because after all, it's an exhibition.
It is. It's a spirited one.
Yes.
It's a fun one.
And this one really worked by all accounts.
Yeah. Got people watching and talking about baseball in March, for goodness sake. Just a thought. That's all, throwing it out there. And to the people who tuned it in last night for the first time, and you saw play out what it is that we've talked about, that maybe baseball needs to consider this rule change. I mean, come on now. We got a clock in the sport. Remember the sport that was never going to have a clock? It's got replay and a clock. How crazy is it that we changed the last inning or two? Just saying.
Miller and Moulton, great show lined up for you today. We have Jim Larranaga on the show in our bonus hour. We will play it for you in a replay at 7 a.m. Seth Everett will join the show, and for the first time, EJ Hradek from the NHL Network will join us on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Empire, I got to be honest. What world are you living in that you think that this show has had hate towards the WBC? Seriously. I mean, get your head out of your ass. Okay. I have been pounding the table for 3 weeks about how great the WBC is. When Felipe has chimed in, he's talked about how great it is.
He's gone to games. I'm solo.
And Mark didn't say he hated it. He just said, you know, it just hasn't grabbed me.
And I think it should be in November. I don't think a real tournament happens when guys aren't ready to play baseball. And to sit there and say this is the greatest thing in all sports, that's just not where I'm at. Not for a March game.
But there's been hate on the WBC. I mean, seriously, are you listening to the show? Are you paying attention to this show? Because clearly you're not. I mean, for goodness sakes, the last 2 times we've had David Sampson on. We basically talked about the WBC the whole time.
And how we could get it at the All-Star break.
I honestly. I have no problem with people liking or not liking the show, but could you at least get your effing facts right? Jesus. Yeah, well, no offense. Don't put this show in the same sentence as that show. Okay? Seriously. The fact that we happen to air on the same station is the only thing we have in common. That is the greatest insult you can do to us.
Bad loss last night. The Lightning blow one. The Panthers lose a biggie.
Lightning outplayed them, but just, you know.
Yeah, you can't get doubled up by the Flyers. 6-3.
Give up 4 in the second, for goodness sakes. 3 minutes at the end of the second. It was 2-2, late second. They gave up 3 goals in 3 minutes.
And none of them on power play.
The good thing for the Panthers is the game in hand that the Penguins have is tonight. It's in Colorado.
Yeah, but you got to take advantage of the wins on the schedule. That was a win on the schedule.
Agreed. And it would have put a lot of pressure on the Penguins.
Now, this couldn't have been better for the NHL. Not so much, Florida Sports Network will pull for Florida, but the NHL is like, dear God, don't do this to us.
The NHL is like, we can get a Boston-Pittsburgh first-round series. That'd be fantastic.
Right, get Sid out of the way. I mean, I'd like to, prefer to have the Islanders bounce to give Sid a chance to win a first-round match.
But we can bury that Carolina Islanders series. Nobody will watch it. We'll put it on the NHL Network or whatever,
Right.
We can get Tampa and Toronto, the Rangers and the Devils, and that, Boston and Pittsburgh. Great. Fantastic.
Man, think about that. You could get Boston, Pittsburgh,
Rangers, Devils,
and Toronto and Tampa Bay in the first flipping round.
Yep.
Oh, Willis Reed died.
It did not at all. Did not change the lighting at all. Did not touch it.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Starting 5 in a little more than 15 minutes, we'll replay our interview that we had with Jim Larranaga yesterday. We'll do so at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. It's because that interview took place during our bonus hour, which is not carried in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, and Port Charlotte and Venice. And, well, we thought that you listeners should get a chance to hear it. This just in, he was good again. He's very good. I mean, we do 10, 12 minutes with him. Mark and I were actually, we put it this way. Jim Larranaga was so good, we texted one another about it after the show.
That's a fact. I as I said to David, I learned something about the game when I talk to him, and he answers every question. He listens to the question, not only answers your question, but takes it to the next step of what he thinks the answer should be, and gets very detailed on his team, on the game, on leadership. Terrific interview with Jim Larranaga.
And it's coming up in 40 minutes time. Sweet 16 gets back underway tomorrow. And we'll see if the tremendous ratings, really good ratings for the first round of the tournament, if they continue, because the big boys are lined up and ready to go. I mean, when Madison Square Garden got the regional, you know what they were thinking? They were thinking K-State, Tennessee, FAU.
Right, not Purdue, Duke, Kentucky, and Michigan State.
Exactly. Purdue could have been there instead of FAU.
Yeah,
Duke instead of Tennessee,
Duke, right.
Kentucky instead of K-State. I mean, the Izzo Michigan State thing, that's cute. That's fun. You know, hey, you know, Tom Izzo, he's a legend and what have you. The media, eat that up. Sparty plays a game every other year in the New York metropolitan area. You know, that's cute. So,
and
anyways,
we Michiganders have all left the state, so we're at parts unknown. We can make attendance damn near anywhere, David.
So Sweet 16 resumes tomorrow. We'll see if the ratings return with them. They have been excellent thus far. And it'll probably take until tomorrow to find out the ratings for the WBC last night. Felipe, believe it or not, you threw out the number that I think Fox is looking for yesterday. You threw out 3 million. We were talking about numbers for things and what have you, and you took, I think, the highest rated World Baseball Classic game before last night drew like 1.95 million.
This is in America, of course.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, with all due respect, it doesn't help FS1 if 61 million people are watching in Japan. You know, they need 10% of that to watch in the States. That would help FS1. But you threw out 3 million. And I think that's what Fox is actually hoping for. Because if they could do right around 2 million for the most watched game of the tournament before last night, I mean, that's a 50% bump. That's huge. But I think that's probably what they're hoping for.
I mean, what does the average World Series game do nowadays?
Oh, well, you can't compare the World Baseball Classic to a World Series game.
Well, I mean,
but
so I know
give you an idea. To give you an idea, like Saturday night, the NHL, the Rangers and Penguins were on ABC. That game did a little over 1 million. You know, March Madness, when FDU beat Purdue, 12 million people were watching.
Between Fox Deportes, and Fox Sports streaming services, the World Series averaged 12 million viewers. Just fewer than 12 million viewers.
And the ratings keep going down, by the way. I mean, every year the ratings are pretty much getting worse with the World Series. And the demos are also. And that's why Manfred is putting in the changes that he is. I mean, future of the sport right now is not good. If this keeps extrapolating out over another generation, they'd have real issues.
But what we've pointed out is that they don't have issues in their own markets. It's why the sport feels they're stronger than they are, because in each individual market, they're the number one or number two rated program on both radio and TV just about everywhere.
Don't you think college football and baseball have switched? in the last generation, that when the century started, baseball was national, college football was regional. And even though I do think college football is beginning to become regional again, all right, there are certain teams which transcend that. And since those teams are the ones dominating the sport right now, it keeps the sport with a much more national feel. But I feel as if those two sports have, literally switched.
I agree with you, but I also agree with your second statement that we're watching college football be regionalized again, even though they're trying to make it a national brand, that the rate and the way in which the changes are, we're forcing it into regions again because we've eliminated just about most of the teams from being relevant.
But if Alabama with Nick is going to remain up there, if Ohio State is going to remain up there, and it helps the sport that Michigan has had a 2-year revival here, Georgia now raising their hand saying, hey, are we national? And people are going, you're really good, but not really.
You're really good, but you're not a national brand.
Right.
Got to do it longer. I mean, Alabama's a national brand because a lot of people dislike Alabama.
Plus also the brand goes all the way back to the 60s. Right, the Ohio State brand goes all the way back to the 60s. Georgia had an hour and a half with Herschel. Otherwise, they basically weren't. It's like, hey, where'd they go for 40 years? Now it's like, oh, wait, I remember them. And they got that cute mascot. Love that mascot. In fact, that was probably the only national thing about the program.
It's not, but probably. It's Herschel Walker and Uga. Up until a couple of years ago. No, that's, they had, what's the line that, about the Gators, where they had the arrogance of Notre Dame with the winning record of Duke from back in the 70s. That's not really that far from what Georgia was. They were a middle of the rung SEC team from the, not middle of the rung. They were an upper rung SEC team, but not at the top from the late 80s through 3 years ago.
We'll say, got to give him credit. Okay. He did one of the toughest things to do in sports. Mark Richt averaged 9.5 wins a year for 15 years. I mean, Georgia went either 10-2 or 9-3 basically every year under Mark Richt. What's one of the toughest things to do in sports? To go from good/very good to great.
Everybody tries it. Everybody tries. You get to that 9-win threshold. You have the one bad year. We fire the coach because that's what we now expect. And how many times do programs never get back to the level that they were at with their exceptional coach that set the bar higher than and set the expectations higher than what really the school could provide?
And he got to great, and he has kept them there. All right. He's got the personality of a stop sign, but he's done an amazing job. An angry stop sign too, by the way. Like the flat stop signs, and you know what I mean by flat? Like they're square in the ground. They haven't been altered by wind or a car accident or anything. Okay. And then you've got the ones that are just slightly crooked. That's Kirby's. Okay, Kirby's stop sign is not flat. He's a little crooked. Maybe the pole even could be dented in a spot. That's Kirby.
That's just where he ran his head into it.
Right. That's all those years playing safety. Getting yelled at by Nick for 8 years. That'll dent your pole. Hello.
That will dent your pole.
I don't know. Put it on the back of another T-shirt. We've got 1,000 of them.
And none are for sale.
No.
If you can find one, it's a collector's item. The starting 5. Something else that we'd sell if we could. That's next on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Butera just retweeted an article. I guess SI did an article about the death of the local sports anchor. No, but I think every other year would be okay. I think every 3 years is quirky. But I don't think you get the players to want to play in if it was every year.
Paul, NFL Radio has a show Saturday mornings in which they replay the best interviews of the week. It's like a 2-hour show. I heard the interview during that. So, I don't know what day the interview aired on Pat's show last week, but I know that it re-aired Saturday morning. But, but Paul, I would look for last week's Move in the Chains. Paul, I live in Jacksonville. I did not see the change in the Naples newspaper. Since they fired me, I haven't read it much. Same with the Fort Myers one. It was funny when people said, "Why'd you move?" I said, well, let's see. The 2 companies that do sports radio fired me. The 2 companies that do newspapers fired me. I said, and the TV company I worked for got rid of local sports. How much more rejection do I need?
Oh, it's the Naples News Press now. Wow.
Trout wasn't I didn't see it as glaring. Players have a tendency to just look back out to the pitcher.
If the World Baseball Classic existed in an era where more Americans cared about baseball, like the 80s, and the United States assembled a team of guys like Ricky Henderson, Kirby Puckett, Mike Schmidt, Don
But you,
Madden.
but you know what, Felipe, would have been interesting as two people who lived through the 80s? The game was not a world game then. And I don't know that the American sports fan would have given a rat's you-know-what if a great U.S. team played a great team from Japan or Cuba in the mid-'80s.
It would have been like the first Dream Team. We would have expected to beat everybody by 64 runs.
I don't know who the hell Angola is, but Angola in trouble.
Right.
Exactly.
And maybe that's why I'm not into this. As an old, now I'm essentially an old American. I'm over 50 years old. I'm not a young person. It was cool. It was really cool to watch Ohtani and Trout, but it was an exhibition.
Yeah, but KW, you do have to acknowledge Randy Johnson threw the first pitch right over Kruk's head. He threw 98-mile-an-hour fastball over his head.
Yeah.
Kruk was like, oh, snap.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, our Jim Larranaga interview from our bonus hour yesterday, we will bring it back to you beginning at the top of the hour. Hell, if you heard it, you'll want to hear it again. But for those of you in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice, you didn't get a chance to hear it. That's why we want you to hear it. It's not every day you can get a coach on during the week when he's preparing for a Sweet 16. So there, Jim Larranaga coming up in a little more than 20 minutes' time. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Japan 3, the United States 2. 4, the 5 runs in the game on solo homers. Pair of Phillies providing the runs for the United States. Trey Turner in the second, Kyle Schwarber in the 8th. Turner hit 5 home runs for the U.S. in this tournament. But Japan, who had a 3-1 lead early, clinging to a 3-2 lead in the 9th, brought Ohtani into pitch. He walked Jeff McNeil, got a double play of Mookie Betts, and then in a classic at-bat with Mike Trout, struck him out on a hard 3-2 slider. Interesting stat, Mark, and you know they got stats for everything. Mike Trout's been playing for a little while. And what's he got, like 11 plus years in the majors? He has only struck out swinging and missing all 3 strikes 24 times in his career. And he swung and missed at all 3 strikes against Ohtani last night. 100-mile-an-hour fastball, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and just a filthy 94-mile-an-hour slider. 3-2 slider. What kind of a teammate is that? Japan was undefeated in this tournament. After finishing 3rd in a couple of World Baseball Classics, Japan wins it. U.S. settles for 2nd. Rob Manfred, Mark, before the game, he was there, and he answered questions about the World Baseball Classic. First question, we going to keep doing this? He was like, hell yeah. Okay, all right. Is there anything you'd like to see change for the next one in 2026? And he said, yeah, I'd kind of like to figure out a way that we can get some of the better pitchers, star pitchers in.
It's really easy. Don't have it in March.
Well, that was the next question then. So then when are you going to hold it? He goes, well, we have talked about this till we've had a headache. Me and Tony Clark, the head of the Players Association. And he basically said that November is not going to happen. and that so far right now, March wins out over July. Now, we'll see if that sentiment continues. But right now, according to Rob Manfred, this thing's going to happen again in March of 2026.
Best thing that could have happened for us as a baseball nation to have this tournament in July, if that's when we want it, was for the U.S. to lose and not have the best pitchers. If we would have won, they wouldn't have changed anything. The opportunity for change comes because the United States lost and people were interested. If no one was interested and we lost, like's happened in the past, no one would care. But we lost in an epic final with an epic at-bat, and that's how I think things get changed. I actually think there'll be some momentum to push this to the summer months, mainly because USA lost.
Here is what I am curious about. We have seen it in the NBA, where in the last half dozen years, some of the star players have become the biggest voices in the union. LeBron James, Chris Paul. Well, Mark, I mean, star players played in this thing and wanted to play in this thing. I mean, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts were all in. Well, they're the two highest paid guys in the sport until Ohtani in about 8 months. And they were all in. Mookie Betts, now, take it for what it's worth. We all can have recency bias. But Mookie Betts won a World Series with the Red Sox in 2018 and a World Series with the Dodgers in 2020. And he called the World Baseball Classic the best baseball experience he's ever had. Now, take it with a pound of salt if you want. Okay? But to me, Mark, what I'm curious about is if the star everyday players were all in on this World Baseball Classic, which they were, and not just for the U.S., for all the countries, will they now go back to their respective spring training, start talking to their other teammates, pitchers, but also start talking about, hey, we should probably do this in July. Okay. I mean, once every 3 years, so we don't have an all-star game. We have a World Baseball Classic for a week instead. I'm curious, Mark, because right now Tony Clark he's a no to everything, quite frankly. I mean, he really is. But if his star players start talking amongst themselves and they come to him and they go, hey, maybe we should consider, then I wonder if it gets changed. Because Manfred yesterday basically said right now the players are, they ain't changing a thing.
And if the players don't change, and the owners, the sentiment was they didn't want to change up till this point. I mean, David Sampson's told us for months that this thing isn't getting moved because there's not votes amongst the owners. But I do think that, to me, the USA losing in classic fashion is the best chance to get changed, David.
I will say USA has the right television partner. See, I think Fox would air these games in prime time on Big Fox for a week in July. I do. Absolutely, I do.
The hell else are they airing?
Well, because, they have the World Cup. So you don't think they'll air a week of baseball? Especially since every other game will be in the United States, probably, is what they're thinking. So just throwing that out there. Could this change happen from within? Because you could see where Trout and Betts are going to start talking to the pitchers on their teams and goes, man, you guys missed out. Seriously, you missed out. You need to figure out a way to play in this thing in 26. Of course, a lot of the old guard, Kershaw, Verlander, Scherzer, they're probably not going to be pitching in 2026. Anyway, NFL. Cam worked out at Auburn yesterday. He was throwing to some of the receivers. He threw about 50 passes. Apparently, he had one highlight reel of a play, rolled out of the pocket and hit a receiver in stride 50 yards downfield. So Cam was like, hey, you got my number. I still want to play. Ronald Jones, he signed with the Cowboys to be a backup running back. And Dante Hightower, who didn't play last year, he officially retired. He won 3 Super Bowls and 2 national championships in college. That's
got the whole hand covered with that.
Yeah, that's not bad. Basketball news. Willis Reed passed away yesterday at the age of 80. Before Derek Jeter and Mark Messier, he was the captain in New York sports, known simply as the captain. Led the Knicks to their only 2 championships in 70 and 73. The iconic moment walking out of the tunnel at MSG to play in the Game 7. He was named on the NBA's 50 greatest team. He was named a couple years ago on their 75th anniversary team. College Hall of Famer, Basketball Hall of Famer, Willis Reed from Grambling State was 80 years old. Orlando beat Washington. The Wizards are all but out. They're like 3 back of the play-in. Cleveland took care of Brooklyn. Big win for the Heat. Big win for the Heat. Brooklyn now just a half a game ahead of Miami, and they're going to play later this week in Miami, I believe. I think Friday night they play in Miami, do the Nets and the Heat. Miami now got a chance to get out of the play-in. Atlanta, they're back to 500 with a win over Detroit. They're the 8th seed right now. New Orleans, a half a game out of the play-in out west. They beat San Antonio by 35. Boston beat Sacramento by 23. Celtics a game ahead of the Sixers for the 2 seed. Sacramento now a 3 seed, game and a half behind Memphis for the 2 out west. Oklahoma City beat the Clippers. Paul George got hurt late in L.A. OKC's tied for the 7 seed, half a game out of 6. Clippers are the 5 seed. Phoenix and the Clippers right now is a first-round series. How about the star power in that little first-round series?
Well, the Paul George injury notwithstanding, because that is something to keep an eye on.
But if he is healthy for the playoffs, Kawhi and Paul George on one side, KD, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Ayton on the other in a first-round series, might actually have to watch. Of course, no game will start before 10 Eastern, but
I was going to say I'll watch the replays when I get up at 3:30 in the morning.
there you go. College hoop news. Tobin Anderson, that was long. Man, he was at FDU for years. And by years, we mean 1. Yeah, he replaced Pitino at Iona. He was actually a finalist for that job 3 years ago. So they had his number. He got a 5-year deal. The guy from Oral Roberts left to go to Wichita State. And you could tell they still don't love each other. Bobby Hurley and the AD at Arizona State. But he was entering the final year of his contract, and they gave him a 2-year extension. I mean, they're still married, but they're still willing to look around.
They didn't throw away any of the boxes, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
A lot of empty boxes in the garage.
Exactly. Listen, you don't mind if I hold on to this business card, do you? I may need you still. Hockey, there were a slew of games last night. By the way, your buddy, Jared Bednar, got a contract.
Yeah, 3-year deal. Good for him.
Yeah, through 2027. Well, they should, for goodness sakes. They could let him know Stanley Cup. But that's a lot of security in hockey, man. You're lucky you get 4 months in hockey. You got 3 extra years. Panthers lost one they shouldn't have lost. Gave up 4 in the second, 3 of them in the final 3 minutes of the second. Lost to Philly 6-3. And with the Islanders beating Toronto, Florida is the final wild card. They're 3 points behind the Islanders for the first wild card. They're only a point ahead of the Penguins. Penguins actually have the game in hand. Lucky for the Panthers, the Penguins' game in hand is tonight in Colorado. That's a tough place to try to get points from. Tampa Bay outplayed Montreal, but lost 3-2. Carolina beat the Rangers by that score. Minnesota over the Devils, 2-1 in overtime. Carolina extending their lead in the division. Ovechkin scored his 40th. It's the 13th time he's done so. Most all time, passing Gretzky, who had done it 12 times. Ovechkin has 820 goals, 75 goals away from passing Gretzky. What do you think? He gets a handful more before this season's out. He'll have about 70. You think he can get 70 in 2 years?
I do.
It'll be close.
I do.
It'll be close. Whether or not he can get it at the end of the 25 season or whether or not you're going to have to go to October, November of the beginning of the 26 season for him to likely pass Gretzky and become the all-time leading scorer. Jim Larranaga on replay in about 10 minutes' time, and that was
out like a light.
That was the starting
like a
five
light.
every weekday morning at
Out,
this time
done.
on Miller and Moulton.
I watched the game at a friend's house.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. First off, you went to trivia night at Potts. Okay. That's number one.
Left after the fifth, by the way.
I watched the game. David watched the game. We're not falling asleep. You got to hit 4 buttons the whole show.
Riveting.
And that was the starting five.
It's out. I mean, just the head bobbing and everything.
I will say, you've got the power there. All right. You know what you need to start doing? You need to start popping up that video screen.
I've got the power.
You did, because I know, when he does the Clutch Vodka play of the day, you put him on camera for Twitch.
Well, what he has done, and it's embarrassing, is he doesn't show his face on. He has the camera basically at the ceiling, and then he stands up for his segment. He feels as if he needs to stand to deliver the play of the day. All I get is the top of the mop right now, which isn't very good. And then when he goes down, it's just a background shot.
It's quite a mop he's got going on too.
He's got great hair. I am so jealous of his hair.
I'd
never, Felipe, if I were you, I'd never cut that. I'd have so much
Oh my
hair.
gosh. I went home. First thing my mom said, when are you cutting that thing? I laughed in her face. Laughed in her face.
Please tell me you didn't show that to the grandparents.
Oh, they same thing. I laughed in their faces too.
Oh, man, that's not smart.
That is not a smart move right there.
At all. At all. We know how much you're making. You still need them.
Badly.
Okay? Right. There's a couple more haircuts in your future. You just don't realize it yet. Jim Larranaga next.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
By the way, they just opened next to Potts, or I don't think it's open yet. They opened a Cooper's Hawk.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Never been to Cooper's Hawk, by the way. I just know that it's fancy and
It's not fancy. It's just a wine place. I wouldn't call it fancy.
The building is brand new also, so it looks fancy.
It's a good point, Adam. With David, he was about Felipe's age, Mongo.
John Cassio?
Yeah, when he started with David.
Damn.
Because he's turning 40 here coming up in a little bit.
Wow. Did he go to FGCU?
No, he went to UCF for an hour and a half. It's shitty wine. That's funny.
Nice. Don't have a tattoo, Paul.
Why not? Surprised you don't have a basketball on your ass.
I made one bet with my little cousin where if Tyler Hero won an MVP, I'd get a number 14 with a hero on my back. But that's obviously never going to happen. So, but hey, you never know. Tyler Hero MVP. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Tattoos just not really my thing. I'll get one, but it's got to be perfect.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much to be with us. And we're thrilled to be joined once again by the Miami Hurricanes head basketball coach, Jim Larranaga, who for the fourth time in the last 10 years has taken Miami at least as far as the Sweet 16. Follow the coach on Twitter, Canes Coach L. Canes Coach L. Coach, it's David and Mark. Congratulations and thanks for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, guys. It's a very exciting time for Miami basketball, both men and women, in the Sweet 16.
You guys own Indiana. I don't think you can even go. If the Final Four is in Indianapolis, I don't know if they're going to let you go.
No, we were very, very excited with our matchup because Indiana has such great basketball tradition, and Nigel Pack is from Indianapolis. We felt like Nigel would have a great game, and he did. But our players were really disappointed that we didn't play better against Drake. And I knew they would come out with a vengeance against Indiana. And Isaiah Wong was tremendous with 27 points. Jordan Miller just dominated with 19 points and defending Trace Jackson Davis so well. Gave us a great chance to win the game, and we did.
Well, and Coach, Indiana had a little run the start of the second half, and I thought your team showed great poise, just kind of armbarred them in that second half, pulled away from Indiana. Just talk about your play in that second half.
Well, what happened at halftime I thought was hysterical. I met with my staff, and we're trying to figure out if we should keep trapping the ball screen. And then we decided, well, what we'll do is we'll put Jordan Miller on Trace Jackson Davis and keep Norshad Omier out of foul trouble. When we went into meet with the team and tell them what we were planning, and say, look, Jordan's going to take Trace Jackson Davis, and Norshad Omier said, "Oh yeah, we already decided that." So I said, "What do you mean you guys decided that?" He said, "Oh, we had a discussion. We thought that was the best strategy." And I just said, "Oh, we're all on the same page, so let's make it work." So we started out the second half still trapping with Jordan guarding the ball screen, but they were able to get the ball to Trace Jackson Davis, and they started scoring. So we made an adjustment in our ball screen defense, and instead of trapping, we went underneath Trace Jackson, and that kept Jordan on him. And Jackson Davis, we tried to just deny him the ball after that, and the guys did a great job. So good strategy, good execution of the strategy, and just got to give our players a lot of credit for being able, number one, to understand the differences in our defense and how to make them work.
Coach, if we could go back to Friday night, you're scuffling against Drake, and they deserve a lot of credit because, they're very good. They're helping you scuffle. But there's like 6 minutes to go, and, Wong and Miller, who ended up being terrific on Sunday, were scuffling. You guys are scuffling. You're down 8. How do you get, and how did you get your team to seemingly take that deep breath and then finish the game on the 16-1 run?
I would say great leadership from our seniors. First of all, Jordan Miller huddled the team after that timeout and said, look, the season is not going to end this way. Everybody pick up the defense. We're now pressing and trapping. Let's force some turnovers, make them make some mistakes and react to us, and then attack them as hard as we can. And with that kind of senior leadership, the guys really responded. Nigel Pack was just nodding his head, yeah, let's go after these guys. And so we got a couple of steals, and then that put Drake in a little bit of a panic mode. We got a few stops at the defensive end and converted those. We ended up going on a 16-1 run and closed out with a 7-point victory.
Coach, I'm listening to you talk about two different games and talk about your team, and we always think of coaches, and particularly college coaches, as having be maybe a little bit possessive control freaks, if you will. And you've talked about two different stories where your team is the one leading the charge. It sounds as if sometimes it's coaching, sometimes it's letting your leaders lead.
Well, here's the thing about leadership. My definition is the leader needs to create a vision, a crystal clear picture of what he wants his team members to accomplish. And then he must inspire them, motivate them, and then empower them to try to accomplish things they never even imagined they could. And that's what my staff and I do. We train them in practice and trust them during the game. And by trust them during the game, that means, hey, they got a voice in this too. They're the ones that have to produce on the court. So when there was a timeout against Indiana and Norshad Omier was on the bench in foul trouble, but at the timeout, I sit in front of the guys who are in the game and talk to them, but I first talked to my assistants. And while I was talking to my assistants, Norshad Omier sat in my seat, giving the guys who were in the game direction. So we've got great leadership up and down our lineup, including a guy like Isaiah Wong, the ACC Player of the Year. You know, he didn't shy away from the game against Drake, where he didn't have a great game. He was 1 for 10 from the field. He came back with the kind of player he is, just attacking Indiana from start to finish, scored 27 points, leading us to victory.
He's Jim Larranaga, the outstanding head coach of the Miami Hurricanes men's basketball team. You can follow him on Twitter at Canes Coach L, Canes Coach L. Fourth time in the last 10 tournaments, the Canes are through to the Sweet 16. One final question about the weekend that came and went before we move forward to Houston. How real is the pressure down the stretch of a close tournament game? I mean, is it something that truly you can feel? Is it palpable?
Yeah, I would say it definitely is. And one of the reasons why I feel like our team is able to do what it did over this weekend is we've been competing at a very high level in the ACC and have had so many close games. And the guys really know the expression we use is poised down the stretch, where you got to make your free throws. You can't turn the ball over. You got to play great defense, and you got to rebound. You know, the worst thing you can do is foul. Now, if you foul a three-point shooter, it's disaster. All right? And so we've been in so many close games. We've lost a few, but we've won a bunch. And when you win those close games, it builds confidence that, hey, we can do this again. So against Drake, I know our guys knew exactly what we had to do to execute down the stretch.
Played two different styles of game. Drake was a little more slow down. Indiana, a little bit more of a quicker pace. You're going to get a slow down game against Houston. How do you try to best control the pace in this game, Coach?
No, Houston's going to run. They're an up-tempo team. The difference is, and I think you have to kind of be able to read the analytics. The opponent has a very hard time scoring against Houston's man-to-man defense. So the game actually slows down when Houston's opponent is on offense and can't score quickly. So it's their offense. If they get a chance, they're going to run on us. And if we get a chance, we're going to run on them. So this is going to be a game of who can control the tempo. And we have to be able to do both. We got to be able to play fast when we have the opportunity and play slow when the fast break is not there.
When we spoke last week, we were concerned about the matchup against Drake, and we were struck by how, I don't want to say confident, but how you were like, you know, I actually feel that this is a good matchup for us. I like, and you went through as to why. Now that you've dug into Houston a little bit, how does it feel? Is this a good matchup for Miami?
You know, one of the things about us is we're not that tall. And quite frankly, Houston's not that tall. They're just tough, physically tough. They're a fantastic offensive rebounding team, fourth in the country. Fantastic half-court defensive team, fourth in the country in that category. So the first thing we're going to be emphasizing to our players is, number one, we have to keep them off the offensive boards. We must block out. We must rebound. And we did a great job of that against Indiana. The second is we've got to create fast break opportunities because they're so good at the half-court level. We need to score in the open court before they can get their defense set. So it's going to be a combination of things. They're obviously the number one seed. They've been number one in the country a good portion of this season. But we play in the ACC, and we think the ACC is the best league in the country, and we feel like we're going to represent the ACC in a very positive way this coming weekend like we did last weekend.
It sounds like it's about transition then, because you talked about, not letting them on the offensive glass and still trying to get the up-tempo game. They kind of contrast one another. So how important is, how do you get to that transition if you're going to be really content on making sure you don't let them have offensive rebounds?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of great blockouts and they're a great 2-point shooting team. They can shoot the three, but they're really comfortable getting in the paint and shooting a pull-up jump shot. They got a bunch of guys like Rip Hamilton and from the NBA and Avery Bradley, Jason Terry. They don't launch as many threes. They take threes, but their primary way of scoring is either a 15-foot jump shot or an offensive rebound stick-back basket. So we got to keep them out of the paint, and we got to rebound. But once we rebound, because they'll be in the paint as well, we got to outlet it and run and score before they can set their defense.
Coach, once again, congratulations. Thanks so much for your time. Safe travels to Kansas City, and all the best beginning Friday night against Houston.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. Good talking with you.
Jim Larranaga, the outstanding head coach of the Hurricanes. Canes Coach L is how you can follow him on Twitter. Canes Coach L. 4th time in the last 10 tournaments. Miami through to the Sweet 16. Yet to get to the Final Four. Got to the Elite 8 last year. Had the lead at the half against Kansas last year. Does
Tough.
Last year's experience, Mark, help all the pressure on Houston? Does it help Miami?
Well, he only said rebounding 10 times in that interview because they're not a great rebounding team, and Houston is. That's going to be the difference in this game for the Canes. Can they keep Houston off the offensive glass, where he mentioned they're the 4th best team in the country? Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Back with more in a moment. Where else but right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
You had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So Larranaga wants to increase the field to 96?
Yeah, to 96.
Well, we'll talk to him about that next time we have him on.
I sent EJ a text. I said, you want me to send you a text to remind you because we did this last week. He goes, yeah, that would be great. So I sent him a text yesterday about 7:30. He replied back at 1:06 in the morning with a thumbs up.
So 10 years ago today,
Georgetown was broken.
yep.
Reggie Miller was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Well, you said, and we'll get into this in the bonus hour, but you said that it played a role in you ending up at FGCU.
Yeah.
That it wasn't your first choice, but because of, Dunk City and all that, it got on your radar.
Yeah. I guess I'm one of the idiots who took the bait then. I mean, I have no regrets.
Sure doesn't sound like it.
I mean, it's a cash grab. Not really a cash grab, but just like it's a trying to think of the right way to describe it. I don't know. It's, hey, remember that thing that we did all those years ago? We haven't come close since, but it was so cool, right?
Well, I will say, I feel badly for you because you love hoops so much, because after it, they had 5 straight 20-win seasons, and you weren't a part of the school yet.
And then I got there.
They went to 4 conference championship games in the next 5 years. They won 2 of them. I mean,
they were in the play-in game this year and got beat.
They were. But like Felipe, you would have enjoyed it because it was
absolutely.
It was real hoop.
David, I enjoy watching our women play. I really do.
Yeah, I'm saying that, like, you really would enjoy. I mean, a guy who played in the NBA. Well, actually, a couple guys who played in the NBA. One, he transferred midway through his college career. Rajon Tucker started his college career, played 2 years at FGCU. Didn't get enough playing time and transferred. Brandon Goodwin. I mean, you would have loved Brandon Goodwin.
I saw him the one game I visited before I went there my senior year, and he was awesome. He's hooping.
Yeah. Player of the year in the conference.
Coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. only on the Florida Sports Network.
$21 past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Seth Everett to join us at the top of the hour. EJ Hradek. It's not often we have first-time guests because we've been doing this over 15 years. But we've never had EJ Hradek, esteemed hockey writer and commentator. So we'll talk some pucks coming up in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Find out what he thinks about the Lightning.
Yeah, and the Panthers for that matter.
As the Lightning, I can't, they win the 2 games in Jersey, and then they started scuffling again. I think they're bored.
Yeah, I do think it's hard for the Lightning with all the hockey they've played in the last 3 years. Now it's true. They're not as good as, the team is slowly getting worse. I mean, it is. They're not as deep. They're getting a little older in some key spots. I mean, but when you got the best goalie in the world and you've got a number one line that damn near every team in the league would want to have, and you've got a guy who, when he's on his game, is the best defenseman in the world, I mean, you can beat anybody.
And the fact of the matter is, there's when you can knock Toronto out again, because no matter what, of all the success that the Lightning have had, all the pressure is going to be on the Maple Leafs.
Yep.
All of it. And it doesn't mean that there's not pressure on the Lightning, and I get it. I am not trying to slight Tampa in any way, shape, or form, because it's a great hockey market. What the Lightning have accomplished is the dream of most professional sports organizations. Seriously, you think about how long they've been there and how well they're established in the community, and yet they're playing in a playoff series against the team for a nation, and all the pressure's on the Leafs. And all it takes is one series to get rolling, because Boston will still have that same pressure on them. They could set the record for the most wins in the history of this league in the regular season. They are on pace to do so. They are on pace to tie the Canadiens for the most points ever in the history of the league. And Tampa is just going to roll into these playoffs with very little pressure on them.
I don't know if our neighbors to the north can handle another playoff loss to the Lightning. I really don't know. The Tampa Bay Lightning might break a nation. They might bring down a nation if they do it to them again. I mean, forget the whole, it's been 56 years since we've won Lord Stanley's Cup. Hell, it's been nearly 20 since they've won a playoff series. This is arguably the greatest collection of talent that team has put together since they last danced with Lord Stanley. Vasilevsky, they just look at him and go, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not letting anything in my net. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Exactly. Exactly. He's a Reese's ad, for crying out loud.
But EJ Hradek to talk some pucks in a little more than an hour's time. So the World Baseball Classic came and went. We got what it was we were looking for. U.S. and Japan. Ohtani pitching the ninth. He strikes out Trout to win the game 3-2. So how many of you watched? 3 hours, 18 minutes, and the game did not start at 7:05 either. It started closer to like 7:20-ish. So, the game ended about 20-11. It was a sellout. I guess technically they could have jammed another 1,000 people in there. They had 36,000. I guess capacity is 37. But maybe it's my television, but for those that watch, did you get the sound? You know how like when we watch NFL games are loud. Hockey games are loud. It seemed as if Fox didn't have a lot of microphones in the crowd.
A lot of gnat sound, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
The announcers were right there, but you weren't getting the feel of the stadium.
Right. Like they were showing us. It just seemed a weird disconnect how they're showing us people celebrating and partying and waving the flags and the signs and the whole deal. And yet I'm hearing no noise.
Let's hear the horns.
Okay.
Trumpets.
That were likely coming from Japanese fans.
Well, not likely. They were coming from Japanese fans. 100%.
What's our problem? Why is our only chant, I believe that, I believe that we will win?
Well,
we shouldn't even use that chant because it doesn't really apply. It's a soccer chant and we don't win. We just believe that we're going to win.
Why are we
and
lame?
then we lose.
Come on, Felipe. I mean, we've got the wave.
I told Felipe that. I said, we were talking before the show a couple days ago. I said, the only thing that we brought to the table is the wave. And that was popular in the 70s and 80s.
Exactly. When we were streaking on the field. Okay. We got rid of one, but not the other. Might have gotten rid of the wrong thing. Not sure. Could be a poll question. But it is true. I mean, about the only thing we bring to the table, we did it again last night. You get 2 strikes on somebody. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're going to rise as one. We're going to make noise. We're going to cheer for the strikeout. Come on, guys. Strike them out.
Swing, bada, 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 swing.
I mean, that's, yes. I mean, that's what we bring to the table.
I don't know what you want. I mean, Felipe, I understand that the Latin games had more flair to them and they were chanting and singing and dancing. We don't do that at games. I told you. Americans, we just get loud. That's all we've got.
Yep.
I don't know.
What do you want? Song?
Yes.
And dance?
Sing. I don't know. West Virginia. Mountain Mama. Give me college.
I have to
college
admit,
football flair to it.
Felipe, that is a fascinating choice of all the songs that you could have picked that we as the American sports fan is going to break out of our shell. And you went with John Denver's Take Me Home Country Road.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, he did. And he sang his own version of it. It wasn't even close to the original. He actually did a cover in which you're listening to it halfway through going, what is that song? Oh, he's covering the John Denver song.
I mean, is that not the most American song ever?
Well,
Country Roads, Take Me Home to the Play. Okay, I'll stop.
All right, time now for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
All right, we got the dream situation last night. Ohtani versus Trout. For all the marbles, let's say, USA down 1. They just grounded out into a double play, so it was either a solo shot or just getting on base or something. Full count, 2 outs. Here's the call.
Ohtani set. Trout ready. The 3-2 pitch. Trout swings and misses, and Japan wins the 2023 WBC. Ohtani fires his helmet towards the dugout. He's mobbed on the mound by his teammates, and Japan goes undefeated in winning the championship tonight, 3-2.
Japones crowned the kings of the World Baseball Classic.
That's Mike Farron from MLB Network Radio on the call.
And that's our Clutch Vodka Play of the Day. That's Clutch with a K, almost as clutch as Felipe just deciding to shut his camera off so I couldn't put him on screen for his one segment.
Oh, I forgot. Because my iPad was dying. Should have switched over to the laptop.
That's Clutch with a K, Felipe. Clutch with a K.
Oh, Paul says Sweet Caroline.
Is that Country Roads with a K?
There you go. Sweet Caroline with a K.
Sweet Caroline with a K?
Listen, when we come back, a coach chastises his fan base and basically says, maybe you need a new coach.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Great text. Americans love their native war chants as well.
Good one.
It's really solid.
I will say this was early World Baseball Classic, like in the group stage. I don't know if you guys caught it. Chinese Taipei, their war chants were insane.
Well, which nation was it that was basically doing the combination of the Braves Knowles?
It was Chinese Taipei.
Yeah. I mean,
but they put a little extra flair on it on the call. Oh man. Just give me something, you know? Spend my dollar. I don't know. Party in the USA, anything. Just I don't know.
It's true, Paul.
I will say, first time I ever went to a game at Doak. Whew. That was an experience. Now, is it more of a hyped chop chant in Arrowhead or Doak?
I don't understand.
Like, is it louder? Is it more
louder at Doak?
Yeah.
When they're full throated, when they're at full capacity.
Oh, of course.
And when they're good, it's louder at Doak. In part because there's 10,000 extra fans.
Because Doak has more seats than Arrowhead?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I have to be honest. The Braves were pretty loud in their day, too.
No doubt.
Baseball stadiums are a little more closed in. They
especially
the old Brave Stadium.
The launching pad. The old place.
Right.
You know. Yeah.
I just got the Japanese call. I think I need to.
You're too late. The segment's over.
No, at some point I need to play it. It's so good. It's so good. I gotta come back.
Felipe,
to
no
this.
offense, you had 2 hours to put this on.
I know.
Okay, I had the Japanese call.
It's so good.
That's hysterical, Adam. The Metrodome was batshit crazy loud. Of course, they also piped in music.
Right. Dump. I hate that place.
Man, still angry about the 87 Tigers, aren't
I
you?
am. Still don't like Kent Hradek because of it. Damn Homer Hanky.
Man, I would have thought Hradek could be your kind of guy, too. Wasn't skinny.
Yeah, I know, but he had a great series, and I just hated him for it.
Oh, for a big guy, very agile at first. It's actually an excellent defensive first baseman. Big slugging left-handed hitter.
For Duke, okay? Ken Hradek should have played in the middle for Duke.
Cherokee Parks, is that what you're thinking of?
Yes.
He's your Danny Ferry, huh? I gotcha.
10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Seth Everett will join us for his weekly appearance at the top of the hour, which is a little earlier than he normally joins us on a Wednesday, because 1 hour from now, we're thrilled to welcome for the first time E.J. Hradek, esteemed hockey writer, commentator. He will join us for the first time on Miller and Moulton. We'll talk a little pucks. About 3 weeks or so away from the Stanley Cup playoffs. Listen, I don't expect everybody or anybody really to pay attention to the NIT. But every now and then, something happens in which you have to talk about it. No, really. Because, well, a coach went after his fan base last night. And it begs the question, as a coach, is any coach allowed to go after their fan base? I mean, remember when Nick was chastising the students at Alabama because they either A, weren't coming, or B, they were leaving by the fourth quarter, and he basically said, here's the deal. If you come, you have to stay. And he made it sound as if, I'll get all of your names, we will track you down, and we will kill you.
Or at least kick you out of school.
Right. And sure enough, those students showed up for the next game 30 minutes earlier than normal, and they damn near stood at attention in the fourth quarter.
They have to get there about an hour and a half before kick just to get into the place.
It is.
Basically, Nick told them to commit for 6-7 hours, and they did.
It's a full 5-hour experience if you're going to be a student at an Alabama football game. They got there so early. Nick gets there almost to the minute, 2 hours before kickoff. Nick has a routine. He comes out of, when you're looking on the screen at Bryant-Denny Stadium, the end zone to your left, that's the home end zone. Nick comes out of that end zone. He walks right down the middle of the field. He walks somewhere to between the 10 and 20-yard line. In that corner is the Alabama student section. They got there so early that when Nick went for his pregame walk with his two state troopers on either side, the students were already standing there at attention. They gave him a standing ovation. He was walking. He turned around, walked back to the end zone, and that's where, whether it was Jamie Erdahl, it was Jamie Erdahl at the time, now Jenny Dell, then did the pregame interview for CBS and what have you and sent it. They used it in the pregame show and all that. 2 hours before kickoff. They were already standing.
Yeah, they've got, we didn't have to practice. When I was at Michigan State, we didn't have to practice the get there 2 hours before the game thing.
Right. Hey, if George Perlis said you better get your there 2 hours before the game, what would you guys have said?
Blank you, George.
Right. And he took you guys to a Rose Bowl, which was a BFD.
Darn right it was.
Right. Okay. So Dana Altman's been the Oregon men's basketball coach for, I think, around 15 years. Hey, by all accounts, he's done a very good job. I mean, he took him to a Final Four like 6 years ago. He's been to numerous Sweet 16s. Last year and this year, however, they didn't make the tournament. So they're playing an NIT game at home against Wisconsin last night. For what it's worth, they lost. So he's probably not in the best of moods. Afterwards, he's asked about the crowd. There were 3,300 in attendance. It's the NIT. I mean, we've all seen it. I mean, Mark, Michigan. Okay, Michigan damn near sells out every game at Chrysler there, right? Okay, when they hosted Toledo in the first round NIT, they had 4,500 in the joint. It was
the NIT.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just,
and for these big schools, it's not a big deal.
No,
it just isn't.
No, and to their fans and what have you, students are like, I got to study, or it's spring break or whatever, and
it's Tuesday and I don't feel like going to a basketball game.
Yeah, it's the NIT, and I don't care, right? So here he goes, Mark. Remember, they lost. You see the commitment that Wisconsin makes with the cheerleaders, the band. We make a commitment, don't get me wrong, but you can just see how important it is to them. It's important to me. We should have more people here, all right? I mean, the guys played hard. 3,300 people, that's not good enough. If it's me, then get rid of me. If you need somebody else to be a promoter to do something, but 3,300 people is embarrassing. I'm not in a very good mood, as you can tell. If it's me, then make the change. Make the change. Somebody will hire me somewhere. I'll go coach junior college ball. I love junior college ball. Those guys are dogs. They want to be in the gym all the time. I love those guys. But 3,300 people for Wisconsin, I'm disappointed. Now, I appreciate the people who came. 3,300 who came, great. I appreciate you. The people who have stuck with us again, I'm not a promoter. I'm not out in public. I don't have Twitter and all that stuff. My job is to coach.
Well, if it's your job to coach, then shut up about the attendance would be the first thing I would tell you. I don't know all of the details here, David, so I'm gonna make some educated guesses.
Okay.
I don't know if Oregon students have to pay for tickets to basketball games. I have no idea.
Right.
I guarantee they had to pay for NIT tickets.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet to make.
So if a student ticket is free, and again, I don't know. Every school's different.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't free where I went to school. You had to pay for every ticket to every sport, and there was a waiting list to get in for most of these things. But I know at other schools, at FGCU, Felipe, you went to basketball games for free, right?
Essentially, yes.
Essentially? Did you have to pay for a ticket, yes or no, when you were a student?
Well, if you were a dirty bird, you did not. But I believe that if you were a student, you had to.
Okay, so I guarantee they had to pay for the NIT tickets, the students. And it is a Tuesday and it's the NIT. Your students don't care.
Okay.
But it's also the NIT. I would tell the coach, if you were in the NCAA tournament, there'd be a little bit more.
Right. Oomph.
By an oomph.
Pizzazz.
Yes. Charisma, as you like to say, David.
Channel your inner David Lee Roth.
That's right.
Mark.
But I do like the fact that he put his own job out there on the line for it.
Right.
I mean, of all the things, because to just go and blast the fan base for not showing up, that's one thing. But then to say, if it's me, just get rid of me. I'll go coach JUCO. Those guys are dogs.
I love JUCO ball. Dana Altman's 64 years old. He's been doing this a while, like 15 years at Oregon. He was at Creighton. All right. He's a good coach. All right. But I love it. Hey, if it's me, if I'm the reason you're not coming, get rid of me. But I love, by the way, I'm not a promoter. Okay. Don't expect me out there handing out flyers, try to get you to come to the game. Listen, at least he didn't mention Phil Knight. All right. That's the surefire way to lose your job.
Huh.
You have any problem with what he said?
Yes, I do. I do. Shut up and coach. All right. I don't ever think it's a good idea. The only time I think it's okay to chastise your fans is if they misbehave while in the crowd. If they throw things, if a lewd chant emerges, if they wrongly, in your estimation, boo someone. Okay, that is the only time in which I really think as a coach you should get on the fan base, is if they quote unquote misbehave. I don't think misbehaving is not showing up. I don't. I think it's our right.
They told him very clearly what they want. It's an NCAA berth, not an NIT berth.
Right. It just, this is cute, but it doesn't really interest me. Sorry. Not enough to pay the money, take the time, and go. Game was on ESPN. 6:00 tip local time, by the way. I could, instead of stayed home, had dinner, watch the game. Doesn't make me a bad fan.
The NIT's got a lot of World Baseball Classic to it. If your team makes the final, you're interested. Up until then, it's just not that big of a deal.
Right. And now they've moved the semis and the finals, I think, from Madison Square Garden. Aren't they in Vegas now?
I believe so. It was always to get to the Garden. That was what the NIT was about.
Right. But now I think it's to go to Vegas. Although, isn't the West region in Vegas this weekend? Which is a big deal. I mean, think about that. I believe the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 are in Vegas this weekend. This isn't the Mountain West Pac-12 conference tournament here. Big bad NCAA, gambling. We strip wins away from coaches and teams and what have you. I think they're in Vegas. It's one thing to have the NIT in Vegas. Think about it. We got a Super Bowl going there in 2 years. I mean, why can't you have a regional, for goodness sakes?
I do love that the states that don't allow you to bet on the college teams that are inside of that state. Right. Like Jersey's legal gambling. But you couldn't bet on Fairleigh Dickinson in the tournament because they're a New Jersey school.
Right. So you had to drive across the border to either Pennsylvania, Delaware, or New York to place a bet on the Knights there.
But that'll keep it on the up and up as long as you can't bet on the team inside the state.
Right. Exactly, Mark. That's how nefarious things happen. There are no wise guys when you cross the border.
None.
No. It's only when you stay close to home.
That's where they can get at you. So smart move, New Jersey.
You can't refuse. So, yeah, if I was Dana Altman's athletic director, I'd be like, did you need a nap? Snickers? Everything okay? Please tell me you had a couple cocktails afterwards. Get that out of your system. Yeah, don't do that again, okay?
That marketing director for Oregon's walking in today hot.
Actually, tell you what, if I'm the marketing director, I walk in and I go, well, listen there, coach. First thing we got to do is we got to get you on that there Twitter.
That's a start.
I'm not a promoter.
I'm just a coach.
I'm just a coach.
But I'm really disappointed that nobody showed up for the game, so maybe I'm going to start promoting.
But I'm not going to promote. I'm just a coach. And if I'm the reason you're not coming, then get a new coach. I love the fact, by the way, he could get like a really good job. I love the fact he demoted himself all the way to JUCO.
I'd have him doing all of the ads next year for the team.
You know what I would do? If there's a local junior college nearby, I'd have him doing the ads for us.
No doubt.
I'm Dana Altman for Eugene Community College. These guys are dogs. I love them. I hope you'd come out and support Oregon basketball, but if you don't, at least come out and support ECC. I'd be proud to be their coach. These guys are dogs.
Trying to write a quick ad in my head. Now you got Eugene Community College going for it, and I can't go anywhere. We might be ducks, but they're dogs. Come check us
out. All I know is, Mark, is that this is how you get yourself fired, though. Okay, A, you take on the fan base, and B, you basically challenge and say, listen, if I'm the reason, then you can get rid of me. Wait. I'm sorry, did you say that out loud?
You literally placed yourself on the hot seat before the season started for next year.
Right. Listen, I'll go get another job. I'll coach JUCO basketball in front of 138 people. I don't care. Wait,
if I was at JUCO in Oregon right now, I'd be offering him the job and making a big press campaign to get so many things. I'd be getting as much press as I could out of this.
I would too. Hey, do you have a replacement? No, but we called Oregon today and asked for permission to talk to Dana Altman.
It's a big pay cut for him, but he said he thinks these JUCO guys are dogs.
Man, I know Fairleigh Dickinson already just, promoted the top assistant to get the job, but, there's got to be an open job here in which you're like, well, we're calling Oregon for permission to talk to Dana Altman. I got to hire a new marketing department, but I know who we want as coach.
The problem is you don't have an SID who can put it out because he's a junior in college at Fairleigh Dickinson for crying out.
By the way, did you hear he got invited to the Final Four?
Oh, he'll end up with a job.
The NCAA, is like, listen, we're bringing you to the Final Four.
It's embarrassing for Fairleigh Dickinson. Great for this kid. Hopefully he can make a lot out of it. Miller and Moulton. Seth Everett coming up on the other side right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com. Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
That kid will get a job, and he'll be replaced by a sophomore.
This is
Seth?
a great gesture by the NCAA there.
Yeah, it is.
Morning.
Hi, Seth.
Good morning.
How was the trip?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was so much fun. What a difference those two arenas are.
You think?
We'll
Holy
just save it.
One's a hockey arena and one they play hockey games at.
It's a barn. Yeah. It's a barn. But because we're on Twitch, I just wanted to show this is a cool little nugget that I've had over the years. Doesn't fit me, but I don't think it ever fit me in 2006.
Oh.
What year?
06.
Oh, sick.
Wow.
Baby.
Very first one.
Very first one.
Wow, that is awesome.
When Tommy called me a communist.
Who called you a communist?
Tommy Lasorda, the late
Oh,
great.
yeah, that's right.
No, the Florida trip was great. The Panther game, 2 minutes and 30 seconds sucked, but everything else was great. The food there is awful.
It's an awful arena.
It's just bad.
Everything
Everything's bad.
about
The
the arena
parking
is
is. We parked at a Target. It was
Yep.
just weird. Tampa, the presentation was top notch. Everything was brilliant.
Everything
The
about
tribute-
what they do is fantastic.
Yeah, everything was exactly fantastic. There's nothing bad you can say about Tampa.
No, I remember the first time I took my wife, who's a big Penguins fan, and she had her Penguins gear on, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is like going to a Penguins game." Yes, yes, you're not in Florida anymore.
When we went to the Devils Carolina game, I said to my daughter, I said, I want this place louder. Like, this is Carolina. Like, this is a big game. This is a battle for first place. And it was loud, but it wasn't super loud. And then in the beginning of the Tampa game, it was jumping. And I just looked at her and I said, you hear this? And she goes, it's loud here. I go, this is what I wanted. This is loud.
Did you have Devils gear on?
Oh, yeah, both times.
And were they respectful in Tampa?
Can I tell a story? I can't tell it on the radio.
Okay.
The Islanders invited my daughter and I to Monday night Devils Islanders. This was like 6 weeks ago. I'm supposed to do a podcast with the Islanders owner, and it was supposed to tour the UBS arena. And they checked out my social media and have seen all my pictures, and they've rescinded the offer.
No.
I had to tell you that story, and I can't tell it on the radio. I don't want to make a big deal about it, but oh my God.
That's dumb.
It's so dumb. The offer has been rescinded.
Why? That's ridiculous.
You don't want me to go there and hate on their team. I don't know.
You should literally no, hold on. You should literally call them back and go, you're not the Rangers.
I know. I don't even hate you guys as much as I
Right.
hate them. Right. I couldn't believe it. I want to tweet about it, but I'm not. I'm
No,
staying out of it.
no.
Staying out of it. I couldn't believe it.
You should lobby. You should call them up and go, come on, guys. I'm a
It's
professional.
through a third party, and it's so awful.
Here we go.
You You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And it is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this hump day in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, Venice. We're just halfway home in the 239. 1 hour ago, or 1 hour from now, I should say, we go back 10 years. 10 years to a very momentous occasion. And what has taken place since? That's 1 hour from now. This is like the hockey hour, though, Mark. We got EJ Hradek coming up for the first time in 35 minutes. And Seth Everett has just finished his Florida World Hockey Tour, and he joins us now. Hey, Seth.
Good morning, guys. That's interesting music to open your 8 o'clock hour. It's nice, easy listening to come on in.
Well, that's how we roll. We got to rock and roll into the top of the hour. Make sure you're awake, Seth.
Motivated. I like your 8:35 music better.
Well,
can we get an edgier Seth with the edgier music? That's what I'm wondering.
Felipe wants now. He is determined that America, that like the song that captures America, is "Country Roads." That's the song that we need to be playing like everywhere.
Well, hold on. I need to provide context to this. Our fans are lame when it comes to international play. And I think that we need to have a list of songs that we just randomly start singing throughout games to kind of have that coolness and chants together.
You're an Arsenal guy. You want that. You like the chants and the soccer. How do we make our sporting events more like a world event with more chanting and singing? Because, last night's World Baseball Classic, it was loud, but it wasn't like the Latin games where there's song and horns and drums and everything going constantly.
Move to England.
Really?
Wow.
He's Seth Everett. He appears every week on the show to provide this kind of commentary.
Yep. 3 great podcasts. Seth, what do you got? So you're saying we're a lost cause? Is that it? I mean, come on, think about it. We did not as a nation embrace soccer in the 70s and 80s and really even through much of the 90s. This is a 21st century phenomenon that America is embracing soccer. So we're willing to embrace other things. We could embrace, as sports fans, some other cultures and kind of, we could be a big ball of clay, don't you think?
Yeah, but America is what America is. So, America is, look, I spent my weekend driving through a state where I think there are some of the towns that I drove by that I don't think they realized COVID happened. And, the idea that you're not going to change an old dog, like it is what it is. So to me, I'm not trying to make America like other places. I don't want to make American sporting events like Dominican sporting events or Japanese sporting events. America is what America is, and if you don't like it, leave.
There you go, Felipe.
Yeah,
leave.
That's
unfair.
How do you like
Felipe.
that? No,
we have college sports.
My two favorite
John
things,
Denver
my two favorite social media things for the World Baseball Classic last night. One was, what's the big deal? Angels have been beating themselves for years. Come on. That's tremendous.
Wow.
It's gold. I didn't come up with that, but that's great.
That is great.
My buddy TJ Quinn from ESPN, he just said, boy, I wish that was like a best of 7. I said, yeah, you could have that if you're playing November.
Well, I saw a tweet yesterday, Seth, of having the prelims in March.
Yep.
And then using the all-star break for the quarters, semis,
Yep.
and finals.
Yeah, yep. That was TJ, yeah. And then have the finals in October.
November. I'm fine with having the whole thing in July. The quarters, the semis, and the finals all in July. Because
I don't like it because of the injuries. I'm worried about it. To me, injuries. Jose Altuve is not starting the season. Edwin Diaz, we've well documented. I just don't like it in March. And from a competition standpoint, the two things I don't like are, number one, there's pitch count limits. And number two, it's these single eliminations. Now, that works in basketball. I mean, we love the NCAA tournament, but a baseball game never decides anything. And if these nations care about this that much, which they clearly do, play a best of 3 at least. But you can't play a best of 3 in March because you have a season to get ready for. So, I mean, I've said this since 2006. Play the my argument has always been play the prelim rounds the last week in October. So you give pitchers, 2 weeks off from the end of the regular season, or 2.5 weeks off. Play it during the daytime and on the off days of the World Series. And then you start ramping up your knockout round full throttle the first week after the World Series. And that's how I would do it. TJ last night, tweeted about playing the prelims in March and the semifinals or the quarterfinals in July, and then having the finals in November. I'm open to that too. I can't embrace a tournament that has limitations because this is supposed to be an exhibition. And if this is as big a deal as these nations want it to be, then play it at the right time. Because there's a 162 game season that these players now don't care about. Rosarena said it himself. He said, this is bigger than the World Series. If it's bigger than the World Series, play it at a time when he's not supposed to be getting ready for a season.
Well, Rob Manfred was asked about all this before the game last night, and he said that basically November's out. The players
Because,
that
what did he say?
he's talked to they have no interest in that. He basically said, though, it came from the players, that the players have no interest in November, okay, and that he's said, believe me, we've talked about doing something in July, but there's too much resistance, so it's going to stay in March.
Nope, it's Fox. Fox said it. It's not the players. The players would play it in January. If it's that important, they don't care.
I don't
This
believe
is
so.
Fox. This is
I don't
all
believe so
Fox.
for this. Hold on. For this reason, players will be playing as they're becoming free agents. Okay, it's a very tricky time for the players who become free agents 5 to 7 days after the World Series. And so essentially, some of those players are going to be free agents. You run the risk of injury, the whole deal, and they don't have a contract for next year.
Understood. I understand. It's better than this.
I'm not arguing with you. I think, Seth, we both think it's better than this.
Nothing is perfect. Right. Nothing is perfect unless you shorten the season. Unless you're shortening the season. In an idealistic world, shorten the season, you'd fix the whole thing. But we don't have that. So as long as you're giving me the parameters that you're giving me, to me, November is the better of the best, the better of the worlds. The real reason is Fox has said we don't want to because we have massive college football and NFL packages, and we don't want to touch your precious baseball.
No doubt.
That's why.
No doubt.
So in July, every 3 years at an All-Star break, they would have it. They could put it on Fox, not even on FS1, and carry this over the course of a week to 10 days and have a tournament that I think would get more appeal if you open up more venues, you open up more opportunities.
I know, but then you're dealing with pitch counts again, and you're dealing with starters in the middle of their seasons. I don't know. I don't personally. That's my opinion. I don't like that only for that reason. I look at the season going, and I'm thinking to myself, pitchers use that break, for what they need it for. The season is a marathon, and people seem to forget all that.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be pitch counts. If anything, by July, they're fully ramped up. They're ready to go. But listen, Manfred said that it's been debated internally, all sides, and it's staying where it is. Seth, we think, before we move on, that the only chance there is that the players, the elite star players who participated in this, that they go to Tony Clark and say, actually, we want change. This is what we'd like. Because Tony Clark is a no to everything.
Right, but the players recognize this is like what the hockey players are saying. The hockey players hate that the Olympics are in the middle of their season too, but this is their career. This is their only shot at this kind of thing. They're like, hey, this is when it has to be. This is when it has to be. So we do it. It's the players are not the deciding factor here. The players will play it in the middle of January. They want if it's that important. The World Cup should never have been played in November, December.
Right, and
it
it
was
never
the
will
most
be again.
corrupt thing. It was the most corrupt thing.
Right.
Everyone was unanimous
Right.
in being
And
against it, and
and it
every
will
player
never
was
happen
like, "Where
again.
do I sign?"
Right. Seth, before we get to what's on the podcast, you made your Florida hockey tour. Just your thoughts on you went to a Devils game in Florida, you went to a Devils game in Tampa. Your thoughts on hockey in Florida as someone who has not experienced it up until this point.
Well, first of all, everything about that Tampa arena is wonderful. Even from the minute you walk up to that pavilion where there's a guy trying to rally the crowd and everything like that, the whole idea, the concept where they call the fans the Thunder when they're the Lightning, I thought that was brilliant. I thought the tribute to Andre Palat was great. That was his first time back. It was just an incredible presentation. The people who put that arena together should be commended. Florida, try again. Just keep at it. What a dead space. Every time the whistle blew, they didn't do anything. They played a song. My kid could DJ that place. That was weak. That in 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the Panthers scoring 3 goals, that the whole night stunk. And I had to walk 1.5 miles to find my car at a Target.
That describes Sunrise in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Wow, sure does. All right, 60 seconds. Sports with Friends Hall of Justice text stream.
Sports with Friends is Formula E driver Jake Dennis. He is near the top of the championship. Great driver. He's fantastic. And he won the first race, and they have a race in Brazil this week. It's on CBS. Hall of Justice returns this week with a review of Shazam, Shazam 2, Electric Boogaloo, or whatever it's called. Hall of Justice returns. It'll be out tomorrow. And TechStream, since last week was all about crypto and finances and banks, we did something light on streaming and cord cutting and YouTube raising their prices, YouTube TV, and all the stuff. And is it going to be that one day cable will be cheaper? So Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and TechStream are all back.
And you can follow Seth on Twitter at Seth_.
Oh, and this is the week I'm doing the charity thing. Sorry to interrupt you.
10
I'm
seconds.
doing the charity streaming thing. Follow me on Twitter. I'll post the links. I'm going back on Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram Live to raise money for gamers for a hospital. They bring games to hospitals. See ya.
Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. The Florida Sports Network.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Do we want to bring that back around during this segment or no?
I have it. The Oklahoma City Thunder were projected to win 23 games this year. They're 7th in the West. And a game away from the playoffs.
Felipe, I listen to a decent amount of NBA radio. They don't even talk about the Thunder there.
Right. They're sleeping. If they had Chet Holmgren, I mean, if he's half the player they say he'll be.
It's actually where I thought Durant should have gone back to.
Okay, see?
I thought that Durant should have gone when he requested a trade, that he should have quietly said to the Nets, send me to Oklahoma City.
No. He's Kevin Durant. He's a hoe. He likes contending.
Well, I think you put him on that team.
That's a good point.
And then he gets to do the LeBron thing.
Him and Gilgeous, like with Cleveland, you're saying?
Yeah. Yep. That's where I thought somebody should have said to him and said, listen, the only place where you're going to be beloved is there.
And if there's a team that could send Brooklyn 7 million draft picks, it's
exactly
City. Yep, there you go.
Yep.
Maybe next year. Who knows? Maybe Durant will just be tired of whatever thing he gets.
No, Adam, it's remarkable. They had those 2 terrific years with Stan Van Gundy. What was it? Went to the finals in 2009.
Yes.
Lost the conference finals in 2010. Both franchises go back to having their star centers. The relationship between them and their star centers went south quickly, and the franchises took forever to recover.
There's many reasons why I hate the Magic. Well, hate's a strong word. I'm not rivalry, whatever. But one of the reasons is
who were they a rival of?
Well, they've always been in the Heat's division. Every time.
When have they ever been a rival of the Heat?
Every time. Okay, the Magic have been bad for a little while now, a little bit. Every time they play the Heat, they play it like it's a finals game. Every single time.
I know, but when I think of a Heat rival, I think of the Knicks, quite frankly.
Or the Celtics.
No, I think of the Knicks.
Yeah, true. But the Celtics, too. Playoff battles. Just like the Knicks. Whatever. One of the reasons why I dislike the Magic is because they prevented the world from seeing a LeBron-Kobe finals in 2009. That conference finals, LeBron averaged 38 points per game.
No, Deadstruck, it's the other way around. The Heat may not be a rival of the Celtics, but the Celtics are a rival of the Heat.
Right.
You're right, Adam. It's when they signed Grant Hill and he was getting off the plane on crutches.
Right. And they were getting Duncan, and then Duncan changed his mind and stayed in San Antonio. Adam, I think Orlando next year could be what Oklahoma City is this year. Actually, I think Orlando's close.
They're kids now, but they'll become men very soon.
That they could be a 500 team next year.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. EJ Hradek, NHL Network. He'll join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time. Coming up in the bonus hour was 10 years ago tonight.
The beginning of one program and the end of another.
10 years ago tonight. We'll look back at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Remember, 2 poll questions yesterday. That means we're not giving you a poll question the rest of the week. Are you kidding me? 2 in one day? We're exhausted. We got nothing for you the rest of the week.
Oh, we had one. If I really wanted to put it, I just didn't know how to phrase the Moulton anybody can bat in the 8th and 9th inning poll question. Because last night we got what we wanted. We got the dream scenario. World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Ohtani pitching to Trout.
Right.
Couldn't ask for a better scenario.
Right.
David has thought for a while that baseball should be able to do that every night.
Now, it just so happened last night that it was 9-1-2 in the batting order, came up in the 7th for Team USA, and then it just so happened that 9-1-2 came up for Team USA in the 9th, and Mookie Betts batted leadoff, and Trout hit second. So, 2 best players on Team USA, 2 highest paid players on Team USA, if not the sport, there they are. Money time, they're at the plate, going against the best pitchers that Japan has. They put Yu Darvish in the 8th. They put Ohtani in the 9th.
And what David has said for a long time, that the manager should be able to, in the 8th or the 9th, just pick his lineup. What I have been able to get him to change is that you would have to set the lineup. That you can't just go picking 3 guys out of a hat. That if you wanted to start at the top of the order, you wanted to start in the 2 slot, that's where you start, and it continues from that point. And David's like,
Right.
I can live with that.
So that in theory, Mark DeRosa, Team USA's manager, would have had to decide, do I start with Mookie Betts at leadoff and go Betts, Trout, and then I think it was Goldschmidt who hit 3rd. And then I think it was Arenado 4th. Could have been reversed. Or do you actually start with 9-1-2 because he had National League batting champion Jeff McNeil batting 9th? Table setter, that sort of deal. Somebody potentially to get on for Betts and Trout. So, I think it worked out exactly how, if the rules in place were our rules, and Mark, specifically your rule, where you had to pick a spot in the lineup and say, we're starting with the 9-hole hitter. I really think that DeRosa would have started with Jeff McNeil and then Betts and Trout. He would literally in the 7th, he got exactly what he wanted in the 7th and 9th innings. And the, big guys just didn't come through.
And what I wonder is if David's rule were to come to fruition, would that water down the later part of the innings? Because it just so happened that the circumstances gave us that last night. That doesn't been many a 9th inning in which the best player is on the bench.
Right. That's why the whole debate of, listen, if the heart of the order is coming up in the 8th, should you bring your best reliever in the 8th? Well, he's my closer. He pitches the 9th. Yeah, but if he's facing 6, 7, 8 in the batting order, don't you want him pitching the 8th when he's facing maybe 2, 3, 4, and 5? Why would you put your second or third best pitcher in the game against the best part of their lineup? But I would just like it because then I think it, like the dominant, like Japan had their big 3 for the 7th, 8th, and 9th. They had them lined up, ready to go. A lot of teams have that. I mean, they got the back end of their bullpen. They got it lined up, ready to go. It's really difficult to do damage against these 100-mile-an-hour throwers. I think the best shot you have to have more excitement late in the games is to get your best damn players up there. And we have it in every other sport. In hockey, we double shift guys. Every time there's a stoppage, we put the number one line back out there.
I mean, literally, they almost changed the rules of the sport, that the media timeouts created the way to get more ice time to your best players. Coaches have now changed their philosophy of how they coach a hockey game with line changes so they can ensure that their top lines get out there more than ever before.
And obviously, we all know how basketball works and who touches the ball late and the whole deal. And in football, the ball's in the hands of the quote-unquote star quarterback. And we know who they're going to throw to down the stretch. I mean, we know who the top targets are. So I just think that baseball should make that change. And I understand. I know. I get it. I do. Really. I'm a big baseball fan. But, hey, sports evolve. We got instant replay and a clock in baseball. I mean, think about how this sport has evolved in the last 30 years. And not only do we have a wild card, hell, we got 3. I mean, if we had proposed any of this stuff 30 years ago, honestly, they would have said, you guys are fired. You can no longer talk sports. You're the biggest flipping morons in the world. This is baseball. Literally, none of this stuff is ever going to happen. And we'd be on the air going, no, I guarantee we're going to have all of it in 30 years. A clock, 3 wild cards, instant replay, done. Hell, we may get rid of the leagues one day.
In fact, we're working on something so far down the road that computers may be calling balls and strikes.
Right. We're going to get rid of umpires. Yeah. You're fired. Huh? Okay.
Again, 21,000's the text line. 21000 is our text line. Your thoughts on that or anything else we've been talking about this morning? EJ Hradek coming up in about 10 minutes time to talk to some hockey.
So there.
Ohtani 1-2-3 inning. First time he ever pitches against Team USA.
Well, he faced 3 guys. He walked.
Right. Do you consider that a 1-2-3 inning? Because McNeil gets on base, Mookie hits into a double play.
Right. I mean, he faced, but when you say a 1-2-3 inning, you're saying that basically he got all 3 guys out when he faced them.
True.
All right. He faced the minimum, but that was because he got a double play ball. But
just
there you have it.
Threw some cheddar on Mike Trout, which, by the way, was my clutch play of the day. And I feel like I did a disservice to you all because I did not play the Japanese call. I have that available to play now, if that is okay with Miller and Moulton, of course.
At this point, do we really have a choice?
I mean, we have to hear it.
I have never seen a producer hijack a show in the way that Felipe can hijack
Oh,
a show.
come on. This is an exception.
You mean because you didn't do your job an hour ago? We have to wait for you to do it again?
You're right. You're right. Go ahead. Here it is.
Right. Let it rip.
This is the Japanese call.
Got it.
I mean, that's tremendous. That is amazing.
Okay.
And by the way, he didn't. The color guy did not step on the play-by-play.
That is true. That is true. After butchering it in the semis, the guy laid out in the final.
He did the Kevin Harlan thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, he may have had to box out in the booth there to make sure they didn't
Right.
step all over him that time.
Right.
In fact, he may have turned his mic down even.
You ever do that to your color guy? Turn his mic right down instead of him letting him step on you?
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'd be scared to be a color commentator next to David Moulton.
Why? I'm actually great.
It's
I
really
set up my
easy.
color guys all the time.
Yep. I've done color with David doing play-by-play. He's done color with me doing play-by-play. Actually, it's worked out really well.
But if there's a big call, Okay. If we step on the other, we'll get punched in the noggin.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I'm so pissed. Pretty sure Paul George broke his leg.
Oh, really?
Like he had a leg injury last night that did not look
It
pretty,
is 8:30. Huh.
and he was carried off into the tunnel. Very sad.
No. We know that.
You know, just was talking with Rick Peterson, David.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, it's almost like I never quit working here with Rick. You know, he walked, good morning, Mark. Just the same, goes right to his cave, locks himself in.
Right.
Is that the dude that always wears sunglasses?
Yes.
Oh my God, that dude looks like he's straight from the 80s or like the 90s or something.
It's the voice you hear on every commercial on this station.
Really?
Moses Rick Peterson's got great set of pipes. Great set of pipes.
Wow.
Don't know if there's anybody better at their job in that building.
I don't know how many people are better than Rick at his job in the country.
Yep.
Does he just do reads?
He does production.
Right. That's awesome.
He is the best. The best.
I wanted him to be the Everblades PA announcer before I wanted Haney, but he can't. He doesn't do public. He's got to be in his room.
Wait, is Haney still the PA guy?
No. That ended a long time ago.
I've been to a Blades game in a while.
By the way, is he back?
I think it's a long time coming. He lost speech, from what I understand.
Yeah,
completely. So he's got to go through the whole speech therapy thing.
Oh man.
He must be running a lot of best of.
No, it's Haney. They're doing a show every day. Haney, Raj, and whoever the other guy. They've got some.
You mean Stan?
Stan, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. Stan,
okay.
Raj.
Gotcha.
I'm sure they're running a lot of best ups. Bits. Apparently, Rory in an interview supporting the new rules.
The golf ball?
Yeah. Did an interview with the No Laying Up podcast people that we've had on. I got the article up in front of me.
Of course he is.
Well, he'd come full circle because he was not like that. He actually said the article he talks about talking to the head of Wimbledon about slowing the ball down and making the courts a little stickier at Wimbledon and the better tennis it's produced because it was just
right
serve and volley before then.
Johnny Mack, LIV had another event where their big guns didn't show up. I mean, their top players need to start playing.
Let me know when you got them.
Shane Bacon wrote a very fair article about, he said, I sat down and I watched LIV golf last weekend. I gave it a weekend. And he wrote a very fair.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you missed our interview earlier with Jim Larranaga, we did it during the bonus hour yesterday, and we replayed it at the top of our 7 a.m. hour today. If by chance you missed it now twice, go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download it. It was pretty good. He's entertaining. And,
I was fascinated at how, his players seemingly were taking over in the most critical times.
He talked about it twice, both games last weekend. His players basically took over. That's leadership. That's upperclassmen. That's a group of guys who went to the Elite Eight last year. They know. Mark, we've said it for years, okay? And you and I are just a couple guys who have been on the peripheries. But truly, players know. It doesn't mean they don't need coaching. They actually need hard coaching. Okay.
And like hard coaching, by the way. Great players like hard coaching. Right. Not disciplinary, scream in your face. Hard coaching. Doesn't mean you have to yell and scream at someone, but they want to be coached.
But the really good, upstanding players, no matter the sport, they know, A, who should be playing, and B, like in basketball, it's like, no. We need to put this guy on this guy. We need to defend this differently. It was really interesting 10, 12 minutes with Jim Larranaga. If you missed it, download it, floridasportsnetwork.com. It is a thrill for us. We've been doing this over 15 years. We don't have a lot of firsts. It's the first time we've ever had EJ Hradek, senior reporter, NHL Network, NHL.com. He co-hosts NHL Now 4 to 6 weekdays on NHL Network. EJ, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing today?
Well, we are fine. Listen, a little crossover here. So we've been talking a little bit about the World Baseball Classic and their whole dilemma as to when it is that they need to play this sucker. Should they play it in March, July, November? Hockey's had this forever, the Canada Cups, the Olympics, and what have you. With these 6-month-long regular seasons, there doesn't seem to be a solution, is there?
Yeah, it's tricky. For hockey, I've always been a proponent of, if we're going to have a World Cup of hockey and they're planning on having one again soon, the timing has just not worked out recently, so they're hoping to have it in the next couple of years, and I'm hoping they're going to have it in February, and because the league has been willing to shut down and have and go to the Olympics, which is a best on best tournament, just like a World Cup of hockey would be. And it's a great window for hockey. It's cold out at that time. People are thinking about hockey. I think when you pass the Super Bowl, as you guys I'm sure know, there's a hole in the sports calendar where there's a window of opportunity for people to really engage in an event like that. And I think the World Cup, which would be kind of run by the league and the Players Association at that time of year, I think it could be a really successful event. And there's a real appetite for international best on best hockey and in best on best competition in hockey as opposed to baseball, where it's kind of a different thing in baseball, right? It's newer than we've seen in hockey, where we've had these kind of competitions for many, many years now. So I'd like to see it in that window in February, but it's yet to be determined when they're going to do it. But you're right, it's a big problem because it's hard to fit it into the calendar.
And if the owners have that appetite, would be great as well. We were talking a little bit earlier about the Lightning, and they've been kind of scuffling. They've played a little up and down, but when you've played as much hockey as Tampa has, how difficult is it just to get through the remainder of the regular season? Because Boston's the one. You know what's going on in your division. You've got a good idea who your opponent is, and you've had a good idea now for it seems like a month. How tough is it at this time of year to continue to get up for games?
It's funny. I was at the Carolina Rangers game last night at Madison Square Garden, and that was going through my mind as I was watching that game, because it's this window of time where there's about 3 weeks left in the season. Teams are kind of positioning themselves right now. For the most part, there's a couple of teams like the Florida Panthers are battling to get into the playoffs, but it's really. I asked Rod Brindamore, the coach of the Hurricanes, how tough is this time of year, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a grind," and he gave his players a lot of credit for the way they've been playing lately. They had a good performance last night, got the win in New York, and but I think it's really difficult. And then you add on, as you mentioned, for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they know exactly what their situation is going to be. They're playing for home ice advantage against Toronto. Right now, Toronto has the edge there, but my experience in sports has been the players will more so than the fans or the media. Players are willing to play the games wherever they are. They don't really worry about it. And last year, Tampa went to Toronto and won a Game 7. So, I think you're right. I think it's a tough time for these guys to play, especially Tampa. They've played so many games over the last 4 or 5 years as they've been to the final 3 straight times. It is a little bit difficult. You saw it last night in Montreal. The Canadiens were able to, the young Montreal team that's kind of down in the standings, were able to find a way to beat them. So it's a tough time of year in that regard.
When you look at the Panthers, what do you see? Last year, obviously, President's, trophy, and, they thought of themselves as a legitimate cup contender, and Tampa Bay showed them just how far away they were from that. They've made wholesale changes, and now they may be climbing their way into the playoffs as one of the wild cards. When you look at the Panthers, how do you view them?
Well, they're better certainly now than they were earlier in the year. They've had a lot of different injuries this year. You mentioned the fact that they went through some changes, and I think all those things really combined to cause them to really struggle in the first half of the year. They've played very well of late. Sergei Bobrovsky has been kind of the guy that's backed up at all. He's their high dollar goalie, and he's had his ups and downs in Florida, but he's played very well of late. And last night they went into Philadelphia. They had to give him a break. They played 13 straight games. They turned to Alex Lyon, who was really the third or fourth goalie in their organization. Spencer Knight, the young, promising goaltender on their team, has some off-ice issues, so he's away from the team right now. And it just wasn't going to happen for them last night. Alex Lyon didn't play great. The Panthers were a little worn out. They played a lot of hockey of late, and so they ended up losing, but they're still in that spot. They're a point ahead of the Penguins. When they're healthy, they're a dangerous team. And like Matthew Tkachuk, who's just come over from Calgary, had an unbelievable season. He's going to have a second straight 100-point year, which is not easy to do when you change franchises and try to acclimate yourself to a new situation. But he's kind of been dragging that team into the mix. Alexander Barkov is healthy again. Sam Bennett is healthy. Anthony Duclair is healthy. He provides a lot of speed to the front part of that lineup. So, I think they got a great chance down the stretch here, but it's not going to be easy. And, the Pittsburgh Penguins have had some struggles. I think it's going to come down to the Penguins and the Panthers. The Islanders had a huge win last night over Toronto, which kind of gives them a little bit more cushion, but it's tight between those three teams. But I like Florida's team. I think if they get in the playoffs and Bobrovsky is playing as well as he's played lately, they can be a dangerous team, particularly if they're playing, let's say if they're playing Carolina in the first round as opposed to Boston. Boston's been such a juggernaut this year, but the Rangers, they're a dangerous team at the bottom. They get in.
How would you handle if you were coaching the Bruins right now, how would you handle these last 3 weeks? They're on track to set records. They're on track to do things that have never been done in the sport before, at least get up to the elite level of regular seasons. And we all know what happens to President Cup's team. How would you handle these last 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think I would just try to, you have 3 sets of back-to-backs down the stretch. They have 12 games left. I think I'd be real careful in the second of those back-to-backs with some of my older players. Of a guy like Bergeron or a guy like Krejci. I would really try to manage their minutes in those games. If there was opportunities to, let them sit in some of those games, I might do that. The hockey mentality is completely different than maybe what we see in the NBA, where a lot of people have talked about load management, and it's something to consider. Just because, as you point out, I mean, they've had an unbelievable year. They are kind of chasing records for wins and points. I mean, I think you got to just kind of keep moving forward with your group. But I do think you want to watch out for anybody who's got any nicks or any kind of lingering injuries. I think you're really trying to focus on getting those guys healthy, and I think you are trying to manage minutes for the older players. But I mean, it's not what again. It's hockey, the hockey mentality, the hockey player. The guys want to play, and that makes it difficult for the organizations. But I'd be careful because you're right. I mean, you look at it over the last bunch of years. I mean, the President's Trophy winner has not won the Stanley Cup since 2013 when the Blackhawks did it. And even in that year, it was a shortened season because of a work stoppage. So it hasn't been, it's two very distinctly different things, the regular season and the playoffs. And I'm sure the Boston Bruins are kind of aware of their situation. But it's been an unbelievable year. They have been, they've been a juggernaut. It just seems like everything they've done has come up perfect for them. So, maybe they'll be the team that kind of figures out a way to navigate the postseason as well. It's an experienced group.
EJ Hradek, NHL Network, co-host of NHL Now, 4 to 6 weekdays on NHL Network. Follow EJ on Twitter, EJ Hradek _NHL, EJ Hradek _NHL. How do you like the product? There are times in which, and you're talking to a couple hockey guys, all right, there are times in which I think that some hitting needs to be added. Kind of like, can you grab me some pepper and some spice? Okay, I understand it's a long season. How are you? I'm okay with the product. I wish there'd be a little more hitting.
Yeah, I think the product is good. I think the game is just fast now. I mean, I think you used to be able to intimidate with, physical play. And now I think you can intimidate with both speed and physical play. And like the New Jersey Devils are a great example of that because they are fast. And when you play them, you're on your heels. And I think that because the game is so fast now, it's harder to necessarily to be physical. I think there's still a lot of physical play in the game. I think there's not as many fights in the game as there once was, like in the early 80s when I was growing up, and you go to, even in a playoff series, you'd always have that game 2 where there was a lot of fights as teams were trying to intimidate one another. So it's different in that regard. But I think as we get to the playoffs, the physical play starts to ramp up even more. But the thing that's really changed the most for me is these guys can all just flat out skate. They all have a lot of skill. The guys on the fourth line can make really terrific plays in a game. You didn't see that 20, 30 years ago. I remember talking to the late, great Mike Fossey about his career, and he talked about the fact that when he was playing, the biggest difference is that he knew playing against third and fourth line players, he knew there was guys that he could just kind of have his way with and get around, and wasn't worried about them. He said now, the fourth liners, they all can skate, they all have skill, they can, the back checking pressure is tremendous, and it makes it much more difficult in that regard. So I think that's the biggest difference to me, is the speed and skill of the players. It's just it's been out of this world, and it makes the game a little bit different.
EJ Hradek, NHL Network, kind enough to join us for the first time. Follow him on Twitter, EJ_Hradek_NHL. EJ, thanks for doing this. We know you keep long and late hours sometimes. Hopefully we can do it again during the playoffs.
Well, that would be great, guys. It's nice to be with you, and just reach out, let me know, and we'll talk some playoff hockey down the road. It'll be my pleasure.
Fantastic. Thanks, EJ.
Talking pucks with EJ Hradek, Hradek, for those of you who don't know and want to follow him on Twitter, EJ Hradek_NHL.
He is right on the skating. There has never been a better product from a skating standpoint. One of the problems they're talking about, though, is every time there's a good hit, someone goes and fights the guys that made a good clean hit. And they are really discussing, it's being openly discussed. What do you do? Because I like a good fight as much as anybody, but I don't want someone to go beat someone up because they were given a clean on-ice hit. That takes away from the game.
Yeah, the Rangers have a defenseman who's good for about 2 old-school checks a game, Jacob Trouba, and the league hates him for it. It's like, no, that went out in the 90s and 2000s. And he's like, no, actually, it's still in the rule book. I'm allowed to hit.
But the first round of the playoffs, the first 2 rounds are going to be just amazing in the Eastern Conference. Absolutely amazing.
It would be Florida-Boston right now. Panthers are the second wild card, and obviously it's going to be Lightning Leafs.
Miller and Moulton, Tampa St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte. We thank you for listening. The bonus hour in the 239 is next. We go back 10 years on the other side on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
You had the opportunity to avoid all of these, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know what I'm talking about, Felipe?
Did you get the text from David? You didn't get the text from David? He's asking you to find something. No, he's not. He hasn't even looked at his phone.
Hold on.
We need it.
I should have said this earlier.
Oh, yeah, I can get some.
Because they have like a, they've got a dunk montage together.
So Pro Football Network says we will have a major announcement at 10 a.m. Eastern. And Canada retweeted it saying this will change the NFL media landscape.
Wow.
We're coming back in 15. I'm going to put it together now.
listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour on this hump day, but more importantly, on this 22nd of March, which is a big day in Southwest Florida sports history. One of the biggest, if not the biggest. For it was 10 years ago today that a phenomenon began, that a university was changed forever, and a phrase was used for the first time. Dunk City. 10 years ago tonight. 78-68. Just the 7th 15 seed at the time to beat a 2. It was a Friday. And the tournament mark had been boring. We played the 2 sessions on Thursday. No upsets.
Chalk.
Zip, zilch, nada. Played the Friday afternoon session. Nothing. And so here it was, 6:30-ish on a Friday night, and the tournament needed oxygen. And boy, were they about to get it.
You know, I remember doing the show the day of that game, and you had a good feeling. You thought they could play with Georgetown.
Was very lucky. FGC was the first team in the tournament that year. They got in 8 days before Selection Sunday. And I was pretty close with Andy and the team. Did the ASUN tournament in Mercer, the whole deal. And I had asked Andy in advance, listen, when you guys find out who you're playing, will you let me in with you guys and the coaches that night? And so I was with them for 6 hours. I was with them from 20 minutes after they found out they were playing Georgetown till 1 a.m. And I was in on the coaches' meetings and the scouting reports and what they were thinking and talking to the whole deal. And I documented it all. And I told Andy, I said, I'm going to write about this. And he said, if you could do me one favor, don't mention we're going to play zone. He goes, I'm going to try to throw the same defense at them that we threw at Miami. And I remember thinking, I saw that game. We did that game.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, it did.
Okay. And I went, okay, fine. I'll just mention, you're going to try to mix it up. And that was it. It was the only thing he asked for, the only concession I made. And so and then Mark, you know how sometimes you've been around teams. You and I did the show, the 2-hour show on Thursday, 10 to noon leading into the tournament's games. And then I flew to Philly. And this team was having, not so much the players, but, the coaches and, boosters and what have you. They were having an event at the hotel. And it was one of the giddiest things I had ever been a part of. It's their first time.
Right. You only get one of these.
Right. And I mean, everybody's just, oh, this is amazing. We were losing 20 games just 2 years ago, blah, 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 blah. Right. Andy's parents were there because he went to school not that far away. They didn't live that far away. Philly just felt like the perfect location. And I just thought, you know what? They kind of sort of match up okay. You and I talked about it. The spread was like 13.5. And you said, do you think they can cover? And I go, I definitely think they can cover. I really do. I think they'll be hanging around this game.
Because Georgetown wasn't an overly big team. When you run into so many, these 215s, what happens? In FGCU, not the biggest team, not overly physical. You run into at that time, your Big Ten type school that can just beat you up. Maybe you don't have the great shot. But that wasn't Georgetown's team.
Now, I remember technologically that Friday, I don't think I did the show with you and John. I think you guys did because the other thing was this was a really big deal from a broadcasting standpoint. Like FGCU got in so early that the company sold the hell. This game was simulcast on K-Rock. Okay. We were all in. I mean, they sold a ton of advertising. Okay. The whole deal. I mean, this was a big, and it was a Friday night, so it was perfect. It didn't interrupt Stan and Haney, if you know what I mean. They could do their show and go home. And so it was on our station. It was on K-Rock, week-long ads, all the sponsors wanting to be on the FGCU bandwagon. We wish them the best. Nobody thinks they're going to win. So they're selling ads for one game. And if by chance they win, we'll bonus you the second game. And I know I've told this story before. It's 24-22 at the half, FGCU. It was a dreadful half of basketball. Dreadful. FGCU makes a couple of quick shots, start the second half. Georgetown calls timeout. Georgetown goes on like a 7 or 9-0 run. The game's tied at 31, 3 minutes in the second half. FGCU's got to call timeout, regroup. FGCU's going to inbound the ball. I am directly across from the FGCU bench at the free throw line. Comer's going to inbound the ball to Sherwood Brown, damn near right in front of me. Otto Porter walks over to Sherwood Brown because they're guarding each other, two small forwards. And Otto Porter starts trash talking Sherwood Brown, basically saying, you guys had your fun. Okay, this is over. And Sherwood just gave him a look like a dog would look at you and go, All right. And it was at that moment that the 21-2 run with all the dunks and the high flying and what have you, that's when it happened. And a university was totally different when that run was over.
And for FGCU, they became a basketball school. Oh, I'm sorry. Because Georgetown's never been the same.
Not at all.
Never been the same.
Nope. They were the Big East regular season 1 seed. Just the week before, they were in the semis of the Big East tournament playing Rick Pitino in Louisville as a 1 seed. They lose, so they get a 2 seed in the tournament. Everybody's talking about what a great draw Georgetown has, and they really did. We were going to beat FGCU. They were going to beat San Diego State. They were going to play Florida in the Sweet 16. They were seen as better than the Gators. I mean, they're like John Thompson III, who had a run 9 years earlier, is going to have a chance with another run.
Then this happened.
Florida Gulf Coast Eagles in their tournament debut. Did you see how about Comer? Comer blew it off the back of the Hoya player. The Eagles come up with the steal and the line. Fielder up high and down hard on a sweet alley-oop. How are they going to weather Comer with a great move and slammed in. Murray pumps it down. Here's Brown back to Thompson in the corner. Oh, they believe that. Shot clock at 5. Comer. Murray drops the sledgehammer. I told you, Comer has eyes on the back of his head. Porter is 2 of 8. As Lenny just 4 points tonight. No. Brown the 3. Oh, no. Oh, no. Good feed. Comer. And slamming it in his field. This kid, Brett Comer. Comer. Up and down! He drops the end zone! Are you kidding me? Fielders brought him out of their seat.
And that was the play with about 2 minutes to go. FGCU had a 19-point lead. Georgetown actually cut it to 4. But people forget that. And the press is beginning to work. FGC's turned it over a couple times. There's like 2 minutes to go in the game. They're clinging to a 7-point lead, I think it is. And that was the play where they break the press, they get it to Comer, and Comer just flips it up underhanded to Feeler, seemingly a foot above the rim. And he catches it in stride with the right hand and just slams it home. And it was so carefree. So roll the balls out and let's just play.
It
And
was playground ball. I mean, it was
Yes.
playground ball. There's no other way to describe it. The way he was flipping passes and the way they were doing it, it was playground ball. They were just having fun.
And every time FGCU was doing something for me, the FGCU fans were directly behind where I was. All the players were looking at the fans, kind of like, huh? And then in the closing seconds, Sherwood Brown blowing kisses, shaking the hands of Kevin Harlan, Len Elmore, Reggie Miller, and then the Westwood One radio crew with the late John Thompson calling the game. And Sherwood just kept walking down while his teammates are shooting free throws, shaking the hands. And I remember looking over, and John Thompson just looked at his partners, are like, wow, Sherwood shaking the hand of the dad whose son's about to have his worst loss ever. And John Thompson, to his credit, kind of half stood up and shook Sherwood Brown's hand. Okay. And, you could tell he was saying, well done, young man.
But that was 10 years ago today. FGCU was born and Georgetown was killed. And they've still been trying to revive that program ever since. It is amazing. Really, we talk about this all the time, David, with different things of the different chain of events. And it was such a great moment for FGCU, and they still revel in it. But the other side of it is Georgetown's never been the same.
John Thompson III was out of work 3 years later and has never been hired. He took Georgetown to a Final Four. He won Big East championships. He was ranked in the top 10 that whole season. They were graded out by the committee as the 7th best team in the field that year. And FGCU beat them. Took it to them. Beat them. Very quickly, I know we're coming up on a break. The 21-2 run has happened. Georgetown's inbounding the ball at almost the same spot on the floor. Sherwood Brown walks up to Otto Porter and says, "Hey, you had enough yet?" I almost climbed the table and kissed him. I just thought it was so great.
He had fun playing the game.
Yes, he did.
Every time he stepped on the court, and so did they. You're absolutely right. Miller and Moulton revisiting Dunk City 10 years ago today on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
for listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I have a question about that year's tournament final, actually. Louisville, Michigan. Why was that game on ESPN?
It wasn't.
It was on Turner.
CBS.
I don't know if it was on TBS. I do know this. ESPN International does the championship game every year. So, like, Brad Nessler and Dick Vitale and others, they've actually done the Final Four in the championship game. They just haven't done it in this country.
Oh, you're right. There's just an ESPN broadcast of the game.
Right. So that's why there may be something available, because ESPN broadcasts it internationally.
But like in the broadcast, Dickie V is in the booth.
Well, right. ESPN does the broadcast. They do it with their announcers. They're not simulcasting the CBS broadcast.
Damn. So that's just available for people who are interested in watching overseas.
Yeah, I guess it's out there. But Harlan and Turner did FGCU's 2 games in Philly. Marv Albert did the game with Steve Kerr, actually, in Dallas.
The Florida game?
Yeah.
It's crazy because Steve Kerr was actually a great color commentator. Excellent color commentator.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I have no goods. Nothing. Not even anything that's close to a good.
You could do 10 years ago today.
The absolute hell.
Just make sure you take a look at my text.
In regards to them?
Yeah, figured it'd be easy.
Yeah.
Well, Mello, the other dynamic that, I didn't fully realize beforehand that could happen was, how many of the Philadelphia sports that they hated Georgetown. A lot of them were Nova people. The Philly sports fan hated Georgetown. So outside of the 5,000 Georgetown fans at the game, Oklahoma was there, San Diego State was there, Duke was there, but Duke wasn't playing that night, I don't believe. So
that Dunk City rap video is one of the worst things ever, Bad Golfer.
There's a Dunk City rap video.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no.
no.
Yeah.
Done by students.
Oh, of course.
If memory serves me right.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. It's out there, Felipe. Oh, yeah. I just remember they only had like 500 shirts that they brought with them. And when they won, people, those shirts were sold out in 3 minutes. And if you were walking around with FGCU gear on, people were literally offering to buy the shirt off my back.
That's incredible. I want to tell you, because I was 13 years old when that happened. That's kind of when I really started getting into March Madness, just because I had never seen an upset quite like that before in my life. I mean, I remember the Gordon Hayward shot that almost went in. Oh, it almost went in. But that's what really got me into March Madness.
Well, I mean, I had to ask Mark when I got back, about, so what was it like here? He's like, oh, dude, Never seen anything like this. I do remember landing at 3 a.m. on the team charter.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour as we look back to 10 years ago tonight when the phenomenon began. FGCU beat Georgetown 78-68. 10 years ago tonight. It was a Friday night in Philly. They would follow it up Sunday night with a 10-point win against San Diego State, becoming the first 15 to ever go to the Sweet 16. Now it's old hat Markel. We've had it happen 3 years in a row.
One got to an Elite Eight, right?
Right.
I mean, this is...
whatever. But the first, pre-pandemic, the first and only, was FGCU. And I don't know if it was Pat Pearson, the SID. I don't know who gave them the Dunk City moniker. They had it during the season because they were actually keeping tracks of the number of dunks that they had.
Right.
But nobody was paying attention. Hell, Mark, they weren't paying attention in Southwest Florida. Team won 21 games in the regular season in Southwest Florida. Late in the season, they were still playing the first game of the doubleheader. The women were the nightcap because they were out drawing them.
When they left for Macon, Georgia, for the ASUN tournament that Mercer was hosting, nobody had a clue of the team in Southwest Florida. That's not being flippant.
And obviously you and I did. We had done the tournament the year before. I went up to Macon to do the tournament in 2013. You stayed back. Okay. And you and I both looked at one another and like, well, damn, they're the 2 seed. I mean, they're probably going to go to the final. They're going to have a 1-gamer against Mercer to go to the tournament. And we tried telling people that, and nobody was listening.
And the year before, they had upset Mercer in the semi and got to the final and lost. So we had seen it. We knew that there was talent there. But I remember you and I were basically in charge of selling that ASUN tournament package so you could go to the games.
Right.
And then they win that. We sell all the advertising to get you to Philadelphia.
Right. And to maximize revenue, they decide, it's 1 game. We'll simulcast this on K-Rock. It'll be over 6:30 to 9 o'clock on a Friday night, whatever. But it's also been fascinating the 10 years since. You know, the 5 years removed. Andy, of course, leaves, gets a USC job. By the way, still there 10 years later. Some of the guys are
most wins as a coach in USC history. Did I not hear that?
I think he does because he has over 200. He's averaged 20 wins a year for the 10 wins.
He's the most winning coach in USC basketball history.
Right. You know, Joe Dooley comes in. They win 20 games or more 5 consecutive years. They play in 4 conference finals. They win 2 of them. But when you start out with a phenomenon, I mean, truly a phenomenon. I mean, Mark, it was news to me. And I was in the storm in Philadelphia, but I didn't realize what was going on in Southwest Florida. I didn't realize what was going on nationally. When the charter flight landed at 3 a.m, Monday morning, and then we have to make our way over from the private airspace there over to FGCU. When we get there, it's about 4 a.m. When I'm watching the Today Show and Good Morning America setting up in front of Alico Arena, I'm like, holy blank. I've been in media my whole life. What the hell is this?
And everybody seemingly was an FGCU fan by Monday morning.
You and I are doing our show on location during the week. We have news crews from around the country, okay, taking video of us, recording our segments, doing interviews with us during commercial breaks. Fortunately, Mark's name is very easy to spell. They got that one right.
They'd lose a U on you occasionally.
No doubt. Add an E, no question. a Dave instead of a David, mom get upset, whatever. But, we knew, like I wrote a column saying, guys, they may never get to the Sweet 16 again. And I documented all the programs that hadn't gotten there that century. And it was 2013. And so I just said, just so you know, in the last 12 plus years, these are all the schools that have not gotten to the Sweet 16. This is probably never going to happen again. And everybody was like, shut up.
Because then they expected it. That was the negative fallout, if you will. For the Dooley years, when they win 2A Suns and go back to the tournament, people were expecting them to win. And not just win one game. And it was incredibly difficult for that next group because the pressure was applied to them that was unjust. There was no way to repeat what had happened before.
I mean, when you're averaging between 22 and 23 wins a year and you're in 4 conference finals in 5 years and you go to the tournament twice and people are basically like, whatever. It's not fun anymore. Oh, snap. Okay. And now, obviously, they'd love to get back to that level. And you, you've marketed teams in Southwest Florida. You and I both, we've spent a lot of time in the 239. We know the market pretty well. You would have loved to have built up to the phenomenon, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you have liked to take these 10 years and flip them? Literally flip them. And build your way up to the phenomenon.
But instead right.
Starting with the phenomenon and then have people go, I'm bored.
But then having to build a program on the backside of it, which was great for a couple of years. And now the program's been on I wouldn't even say a decline. It was just, it leveled off. It did what it did.
Yeah,
and now it's starting to trickle the other way.
Right. The last 5 years have been, 500, I believe, if you're adding up wins and losses. They've had some moments. They've beaten Miami. They've beaten USC. They had a 20-win season. But, quite frankly, it's the life that 300, 250 other programs deal with. But now they got to sell tickets. Now they got to create interest again. How many of you, and this is not a knock, this is an honest question. How many of you, when you hear FGCU say Dunk City, how many of you scoff? Because the national announcers still do. I watched Reese Davis the other day say it, talking about 15s that went to the Sweet 16, and he said FGCU, a.k.a. Dunk City. Totally unprompted. The CBS guys on set still call them Dunk City 10 years later. And I get the feeling, Mark, that if you say Dunk City in the 239, people mock you.
100%. Well, Felipe, you're an alum. Many people in the Twitch chat room think you brought down FGCU's basketball program because you showed up right when things started going south. But come on, you're an alum. You take pride in the school. When I say Dunk City to you, is it a positive thing in your head or is it a negative thing?
It's the past. That's all it is, really. It's the past. How long are you going to look back at the past? Yeah, teams dunk the basketball. I mean,
well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to look back every March 22nd. I can tell you that.
Me too. And I know you will, David.
I mean, I was lucky enough to be in the booth for a Super Bowl, and I can tell you that those 48 hours in Philadelphia is the best damn experience of my career.
Miller and Moulton, looking back 10 years at Dunk City. We'll finish it up today with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when and what's on tap. That all still lies ahead on this anniversary of when Dunk City was born right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Haha, very funny, Johnny Mac. Went to the finals in 2020, by the way. Only beat the MVP of the league in the second round, 5 games.
2 cannoli cupcakes. Nice.
I didn't know my daughter is apparently a huge fan of corned beef. After I made corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day, that's all she's wanted ever since.
Really?
Yeah, nonstop. We got more corned beef, Dad?
Wow.
You're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 minutes till the top of the hour, 16 until we're out of here. The home stretch of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll get to the good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap today was the day when in just a moment. But we've spent the first part of this hour looking back 10 years ago tonight. FGCU upsetting Georgetown, becoming a phenomenon, changing the university, which you could argue, therefore, changing Southwest Florida to some degree.
Certainly for a time it did. I don't know if it changed it forever, but for a time it certainly did.
Certainly changed the university in terms of how many more people wanted to go. They got the state to dramatically increase their enrollment, were able to raise tuition, the whole deal. Now, here they are 10 years later, and as an athletic department, seemingly that they've peaked. You know, they're at that point in which it's like, okay, in certain sports, how do we, because that was the one great thing for me, Mark, that came out of this phenomenon was, you know, I had been all in for over 10 years. And so then, you know, the yahoos like me who could go, you know, they've had a terrific baseball program. You know, they've had a terrific softball program. You know, those of you who haven't been paying attention to the women's basketball program, you know, their soccer programs have been amazing, you know. And of course, most people said, yeah, that's great. Shut up. We only care about the hoops, and that's in March. Like the baseball team's top 20 in the country right now in 3 different polls.
Yeah, but for the baseball team and for all the other sports, quite frankly, David, they need to do something in the tournament. They've gotten to tournaments, but they have to have their moment in the tournament because the baseball program's the one you and I truly believe that could do this annually. If we had the NIL money, we'd buy FGCU a baseball program.
There's no doubt. One of the top 3 things on my if we win the lottery list, it's like, okay, I am going to single-handedly financially take the FGCU athletic department where it needs to be. Because I know the coaches pretty damn well, and I know they just need a little bit of resource help. And if they could get it, you'd be surprised what they think that university can become consistently. They could just get a little bit of help.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
I don't have much today. I really don't.
Okay.
But we'll get to it. 1790, Thomas Jefferson becomes the first U.S. Secretary of State. 1933, FDR makes wine and beer with up to 3.2% alcohol legal. 1941, James Stewart is inducted into the Army, becoming the first major American movie star to wear a military uniform in World War II. 1957, All Shook Up's released by Elvis. Very good. 1958, Kentucky beats Seattle for the national championship at Seattle. Their small forward, this guy by the name of Elgin Baylor, is named Tournament Most Outstanding Player.
He was pretty good.
In 69, UCLA beats Purdue by 20 for a three-peat. This guy named Lou Alcindor is named Most Outstanding Player for the third consecutive year.
The only reason he didn't win it 4 times is they didn't let freshmen play.
Today in 1989, one of the scariest incidents that ever happened in a hockey game, Clint Malarchuk was cut by a skate on his throat, nearly died on the ice.
Remember when he was skating off the ice and it just nicked his carotid, just nicked it, and the blood was squirting out of his throat as he's leaving the ice and he's trying to hold it, and a trainer's coming over trying to put pressure on it, and the blood is literally squirting out of him as he's headed off the ice. We're like, OMG.
And as we mentioned 10 years ago today, Dunk City was born. Carl Malden would be 103 years old today. For those watching American Express commercials, they know who I'm talking about.
Streets of San Francisco, right? With Michael Douglas?
There you go. Those celebrating birthdays today. William Shatner's 92.
And his hair is 6.
Author James Patterson is 76. Andrew Lloyd Webber is 75. Bob Costas is 71. Actor Matthew Modine is 64. Russell Maryland is 54. Reese Witherspoon is 47. Joey Porter is 46. And J.J. Watt is 34 years old today. What did I miss, David? I feel like I had to miss something, but it was just one of those uneventful days in history.
I guess the first women's college basketball game was played today in 1893. The first Masters began.
Who did UConn beat?
What?
Who did UConn beat?
Nice. Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts. All right. Apparently, it was an inter squad thing. The sophomore class beat the freshman class 5-4.
At Smith College, huh? Boy.
And the first Masters got underway today in 34.
I knew I missed something. There you have it.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
So we go across the pond for the good, where a group of English football fans were stuck on a delayed train. They had packed enough beer, David, that they thought would get them from point A to point B. 2 beers each, apparently, for the 10 a.m. train ride from London to Brighton. It didn't get there till 1:30, but apparently some problems happened on the rails, and the trains were delayed. So these crafty fans called Uber Eats to have more beer delivered to the train at one of the stops. They added an extra 20-pound tip just to make sure they would get there and made the train in time. Despite their 2.5-hour delay, they chanted the name of the delivery driver, Gino, but unfortunately for them, their team lost the match 4-0.
Gino, Gino, Gino. Once again, that's, it's the American sports fan there. That's what we're good for. The wave, YMCA.
There you go. Dancing badly to bad songs. That whole Cotton Eye Joe thing for a lot of years was an awful American fan experience.
Oh man, I remember growing up to Cotton Eye Joe. It was big growing up.
And it was terrible.
It's so bad.
That's what you want, though. You want more songs. You want more dancing.
But not like that.
Oh, that's right. You want country roads.
YMCA is a little better than that.
For the bad, we go to Prescott, Arizona, where Salel Hancock was a judge. She got pulled over at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and not only got a DUI, but she qualified for a super extreme DUI.
Uh-oh.
My favorite part of it is when she was asked to get out of the car and asked if she knew what was going on with the arrest. She took a moment before saying, "Sure, it does not matter. My career is already over." after blowing a .219 and a .214.
Woo-wee.
Finally, the ugly. We go to California, Clovis, California, to be exact, where a Fresno man has been arrested for the 10th time in a single month. That's right. 38-year-old Keith Chastain was booked into a Fresno County jail for the 10th time since February the 19th. He stole a truck this time. During those 10 arrests in 31 days, he was arrested by the Clovis police 6 times and other agencies 4 times. 18 felonies, 15 misdemeanors, including stealing 6 vehicles, DUI, vandalism, fraud, possessions of a controlled substance, and more, according to officials.
Hold
You
on a
win
second.
today's good, bad, and ugly.
Hold on a second. I mean, you mean to tell me there wasn't one judge that just got annoyed and said, you know what, no bail? Or
After the 5th car, you thought that might happen.
yeah.
David.
I mean, come on. The one county arrested him 6 times, right? He couldn't have gotten 6 different judges. I mean, he might have gotten the same judge 4 of those 6 times, who probably said, what the hell are you doing here?
Apparently not, David. It's California.
Golly. What was 18 felonies, 15 misdemeanors?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
In a month?
In a month.
Well,
Stealing 6 vehicles. You would think after, I don't know, the second one, they might keep you in jail for a little while.
first off, how does the guy have the money to get out on bail? He's clearly stealing this stuff for the money. How about if you set bail at something astronomical just so that people could keep their cars? The heck?
He's not a threat to Fresno.
Well, maybe not the first 4 times, but come on.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, March the 22nd, 2023.
All right. Since we talked a little hockey today in our 8 o'clock hour with EJ Hradek, if you missed that interview, floridasportsnetwork.com. 2 games tonight in the NHL. One of them was pretty big for the Panthers. They're a point ahead of the Penguins for the final playoff spot, but Pittsburgh's got the game in hand. That game is tonight, 8 o'clock in Colorado against the Avs. TNT's got both hockey games tonight. Pittsburgh, Colorado at 8, and then Arizona, Edmonton at 10:30. So you do get a chance to see, Crosby and McDavid. And Colorado's got a couple of players.
That McKinnon guy's pretty good last time I checked.
Right. So 10 games in the NBA. Felipe, the Heat haven't beaten the Knicks this year. They might want to start tonight. Knicks, Heat in Miami. Heat a half a game behind Brooklyn for the 6th seed. Trying to avoid the play-in.
Last time the Knicks were in Miami, Randall hit a game-winning 3. So
Knicks are 2-0 against the Heat this year. They'll play again next week at Madison Square Garden. Big week for the Heat. Knicks tonight, Brooklyn, I believe, on Friday.
by the way, I know you mentioned in the starting 5, but how about those Cavs? Needed a win last night.
Cavs, Brooklyn.
Yes, absolutely. No, the Heat have got
beat the
Brooklyn's
socks
lost
out
a
of
couple
Brooklyn.
here. The Heat won in Detroit Monday. The ESPN doubleheader, Golden State, Dallas early. Come on, Warriors can't win 2 in a row on the road, can they?
How can Golden State only be – Golden State's favored by 2
Well,
on the road.
I think Luka's not playing.
I don't care. It's Golden State on the road.
Come on, Mark. They're 8-29. What are you trying to say? Phoenix, LA. The Lakers, that is the late game. Lakers a half a game out of the play-in. By the way, Clippers very worried about Paul George's leg injury late in the game last night. That's worth paying attention to. NIT on ESPN2 at 7 and 9 o'clock. UAB and Vandy. And then Cincinnati and Utah Valley. How about Utah Valley getting to host an NIT quarterfinal? It's on the deuce.
We used to watch the NIT.
Yes. One of my first college basketball memories, Kevin McHale in Minnesota against Ralph Sampson in Virginia in the NIT at Madison Square Garden. I think they were both freshmen. Maybe McHale was a year or two older, but I'm pretty sure it was Sampson as a freshman. Yeah. Now, granted, I grew up 40 minutes away, so it was a bigger deal there. But, yeah, we used to watch it.
No, and I think the last four in the playing games have hurt the NIT because that's when you'd watch it on the Tuesday and Wednesday before the tournament started. It would just, you were still in the college basketball mode, and now you watch the playing games. I think that's...
Especially since those teams used to be in the NIT.
Exactly. No, exactly. But it was those games were on that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the tournament started. Everything got going on the NIT, and you watched a little bit more. Now we watch the play-in games.
Now you got the coaches yelling at their fan bases for not showing up for the NIT games, like Dana Altman in Oregon.
Going to coach those JUCO dogs.
Right. Love those guys. They're dogs. What? People not showing up? If it's my fault, then fire me. That's what he said, ladies and gentlemen. Get a new coach then. Oh, okay. Don't mind if we do.
If you missed any of the show today, go to Florida Sports Network or anywhere that you download your podcast to pick up any of the interviews or any parts of the show that you missed, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll do it all over again tomorrow morning. We thank you so much for listening to Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters.